Konoha East Uchiha is very cautious. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401 New Target. Shizui's home is an old-style Japanese-style building, located in a lush bamboo forest, with a quiet and simple beauty. The main material is simple natural wood, and after years of baptism, the color becomes deep and full of charm. After fine polishing and painting, the coffee table looks bright and smooth, with smooth and rounded lines. The wooden hand-painted screen on the wall and the old-style wooden tatami give people a sense of tranquility and harmony. You mean, you have experienced several missions in a row, and your companions have died? Holding a cup of hot tea, Shizui looked at Uchiha, who was sitting cross-legged opposite with a puzzled look, and raised his question. Yes, not only did they die, but these colleagues, in order to complete the mission and to protect the village, each of them was selfless, which gave him a great shock. This, wiping his nose, Shizui's face changed a little. Ichi, have you experienced many missions like this? If it was only one or two, it would be fine, but if it happened many times, it would be a bit strange. In the past 2 months, we have experienced 4 such missions. Ichi, have you told Fugaku-senpai about this? Even for the Anbu, the sacrifice rate of this kind of mission is obviously a bit abnormal. If this is as I guessed, it's really painstaking. No, I have to say that Fugaku's family education is really a failure. His son never tells him when he has any doubts. Is that so? Don't think too much. This should be a way for the village to influence Uchiha. It may be to make you identify with the village more and realize the preciousness of peace. Wrinkling his nose, Shizui told Ichi all his guesses. This is his attitude when communicating with Ichi. This child is very smart and very sensitive. If you keep things from him, he may not change on the surface and still interact with you as always, but from now on, you can't expect to hear him confide in you again. Do this, just to influence yourself. The village has to pay such a price. Isn't this a bit too extravagant? Ichi, you are the son of Captain Fugaku, and you will most likely be the head of the Uchiha clan in the future. Although I don't agree with the village's approach, but he didn't have any good solution. The relationship between his family and the village was too complicated, and it was understandable that the village had such an approach. But this kind of thing will never happen again after I complete my goal. Seeing that Ichi was a little confused, Shizui explained the reason to Ichi a little, and then said with some longing, "What happened?" Shizui, what happened? Can you tell me? The thing Shizui was talking about must be inseparable from the other party's changes in the past 1 or 2 years. In the past 1 or 2 years, Shizui took on a lot of routine tasks, and for this reason, he even ignored the affairs of the family and the security forces. It caused a lot of criticism in the family. Hokage, Ichi, my goal is Hokage. Looking at Ichi's eyes, Shizui's eyes sparkled, and he said his current goal. Since Toshiro talked to Shizui, Shizui was confused for a while, and then resorted out the cause and effect between his family and the village, and finally came to a conclusion. Only by becoming Hokage can the conflicts between the family and the village be resolved. Why? Ichi is also frightened by my new goal. Looking at Ichi's somewhat dazed expression, Shizui found it very interesting and couldn't help but reach out to fiddle with the pigtail behind Ichi's head. This child has always shown a calm face, as if no matter what happens, he can't raise a wave on his face. I didn't expect that he would suddenly show a stunned expression so cute. Oh, Hokage, Shizui. Are you serious? Is Shizui's recent change because of this? This is really surprising. Of course. Retracting his hand, Shizui looked at Ichi seriously and spoke again. I want to become the Hokage of the village. In this way, the conflicts between the village's high-level officials and the family can be resolved, and at the same time, I can contribute my own strength to the village. Ichi, it's very difficult to do all this. I need your help. This kind of thing cannot be achieved by one's own efforts. Although Toshiro will support him, if there are too many people who oppose him, there will be a lot of changes in the middle, and Uchi is his best helper. No one has ever said that we Uchiha cannot have a Hokage, and I want to be the first Uchiha Hokage. Yes, I will do my best. Seeing the determined look in Shizui's eyes, Ichi was shocked and decided to support Shizui's idea. If it were him, he would definitely become a beloved leader. When Uchi was visiting Shizui's house, the Sandaime was still working late at night in the brightly lit Hokage's office. As he got older, his energy was no longer as good as before. The Sandaime felt more and more that his energy was a little weak. For example, these documents on the table can be quickly solved by casting a multiple shadow clone, but at his age, he can no longer withstand such consumption, and looking around him, he found with some sadness that it was almost impossible to find a satisfactory successor. Knock, knock, knock. He took a deep puff of cigarette to refresh himself. Just as the Sandaime Hokage was about to continue to struggle with these documents, a knock on the door disrupted his thoughts. Come in. As he finished speaking, a figure wearing a black and white old-fashioned kimono, holding a cane, and with one eye covered by a bandage appeared in front of his desk. Danzo, you came here so late. Is there something wrong? The Sandaime was a little surprised. What was the matter with the other party coming to see him at this time? Did something bad happen? I heard that Uchiha Shizui is back. Without waiting for the Sandaime to speak, Danzo sat opposite him. As soon as he spoke, the Sandaime was a little confused. What does Shizui's return have to do with you coming to see me so late? I heard that he completed the mission very well this time. Not only did he complete the mission, but he also received unanimous praise from his companions. As soon as he sat down, Danzo's mouth kept opening and closing, and the words he said were also a little inexplicable, all related to Uchiha Shizui. After handing over the mission to you, he also had a meal with his teammates and got along very happily. Obviously, he came prepared, and Shizui's every move today did not escape his eyes. Chapter 402. I was just talking about it. I didn't want you to take it seriously. Danzo, what do you want to do? The Sandaime knew what Danzo was up to as soon as he heard Danzo's tone, and he spoke up quickly. I won't agree to your messing around. Now is not like before, when he was still young, and there were Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and White Fang. Now Konoha's top fighters have left, died, or defected, and even he himself is old. If they touch the Uchiha clan at this time, just one Uchiha Toshiro will make them unable to deal with it. How can he not be cautious? If he is not careful, the village may fall apart. I know, this is the truth. How could he not know? But things have developed to this point because of the other party's tolerance. If they had listened to him earlier, it would not have developed to this point. The Uchiha clan has been full of talents in recent years. How long has it been since the old generation of Uchiha Shigeyama passed away? Now the middle-aged and young generation has Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Toshiro to support the scene. The young generation is not much behind. Uchiha Shizui, and Uchiha Ichi, who opened his eyes at the age of 8. Have you thought about the future development when they grow up? Although the Sandaime rejected him sternly, Danzo was really not panicking. He had many ways to convince the other party. Uchiha is also part of the village. They are also our comrades, our companions. As a Hokage, especially an old Hokage who began to consider his own successor, how could the Sandaime not consider this issue? The Uchiha's strength became more and more uncontrollable, which was a headache for him. If Jiraiya and Tsunade were there, plus Kushina, he would still have some confidence to try to solve this problem, but now there is only one Kushina. How dare he act rashly? Speaking of which, it is thanks to you that Instant Body Shizui is a really good name. If you hadn't spared no effort to help him become famous, how could that kid be so famous in the ninja world at such a young age? When Shizui was only 12 or 13 years old, the name of Instant Body Shizui had already spread throughout the ninja world. To achieve this effect, Shizui's own strength is one aspect, and more importantly, the help of the Sandaime. If he hadn't mobilized the power of Konoha to help build momentum, how could it be possible to achieve this effect? I watched Shizui grow up. He inherited Kagami's will of fire very well. I believe he is an excellent Konoha ninja. Moreover, looking at his performance, He has lived up to my expectations and has always performed well, since a few years ago, when Shizui proposed to him to go to the border of the water country to serve. He noticed him. Shizui not only inherited Kagami's bloodline, but also Kagami's will. He is a Uchiha whose thoughts are not limited to one clan. Seeing this, he also planned to train him well like his teacher, the second dame, hoping that he could become one of the bridges between the village and the Uchiha. Of course, this is also the means by which the Hokage influences the Uchiha. He is not Kagami, and now is not the time when you just succeeded to the throne. He has always acquiesced to the expectations of the Sandame. But Shizui and Kagami are different after all. Shizui's performance is not just living up to your expectations. No. It should be said that he has far exceeded your expectations. Looking at the Sandame with a relatively calm expression, Danzo's only remaining single eye flashed with a strange light. He is now beginning to accumulate popularity. What does this mean? You, the Hokage, must not know it. It should be said that Danzo is still very good at protecting his food. Anyone who threatens his position as Hokage, he will find out in the first place and make corresponding arrangements. Shizui has been quite active in the missions during this period of time. The Sandame, who is the Hokage, has not noticed anything yet, but he, the White Glove, has been prepared first. And he immediately found the Sandame Hokage. Shizui, hearing Danzo's words, the Sandame suddenly didn't know how he should respond. During the promotion of the Will of Fire, the ninjas of Konoha were very encouraged to fight for the goal of Hokage, so that those young people with dreams could fight, struggle and sacrifice for it. But when an Uchiha clan member followed the idea of the Will of Fire and really fought for this goal, the third Hokage's heart was very complicated, especially when the other party had the support of Uchiha Toshiro, Uchiha Fugaku, and the Uchiha clan behind him. He had a lot of thoughts that he shouldn't have, and then he put them out one by one. Konoha's current situation does not allow for fierce conflicts within the village, especially when the other party has a strong man like Uchiha Toshiro. Hiss. He took a deep puff of smoke, and as the spicy smoke was swallowed into his stomach, the third Hokage thought of a lot of things. There was the earnest teachings of his teacher, the second Hokage, the comradeship between Uchiha Kagami, the voice and appearance of the fourth Hokage, and the unruly Uchiha. Danzo, we can't have an open fight with the Uchiha. We are all ninjas of Konoha and comrades in the same village. After a long time, the Sandame slowly exhaled the smoke from his lungs and said in a faint tone. The diffused smoke, dim lights, and fiery red hats all hid the Sandame's face deeply, making it impossible to see the expression on his face. I know. Having gotten what he wanted, Danzo was very satisfied. As long as the Sandame nodded, he had plenty of ways to ruin Shizui's reputation. As for completing all this, not breaking up with the Uchiha was a simple condition. And the Uchiha clan, how are you going to deal with them? Are you going to leave them to the fifth Hokage? Having gotten the answer he wanted, Danzo did not give up, but looked at the Sandame Hokage again. The Uchiha had been a problem since the village was founded, and he didn't believe that the Sandame didn't want to solve this problem as soon as possible. Uchiha, we must put peace first. Looking up at the photos of the first and second generations on the wall, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not express any opinion on the Uchiha issue. Put peace first. Although the Sandame only said this unclear sentence, Danzo, who had been his partner for many years, knew his companions very well and captured the information in his words very keenly. Moreover, the other party's eyes when looking at the portrait of the previous generation also explained the struggle in his heart. Chapter 403 News. Danzo-sama. As soon as he stepped out of the Hokage's office, two root members wearing hoods and masks on their faces guarded him on the left and right. Although he got the answer he wanted from the Sandame, Danzo was not in a hurry to act. The existence of Uchiha Toshiro made him think carefully about how he should arrange Uchiha Shizui and the entire Uchiha clan. Touching his right eye wrapped in bandages, Danzo's steps became slower and slower. Just as Danzo left the Hokage's office, in another village wrapped in thick fog, there was also the office of the Hokage. A short figure was processing documents meticulously. Obito. Something big happened. A figure wrapped in aloe vera suddenly rose slowly from the floor, and at the same time, a somewhat noisy voice began to shout at the curtain behind the figure who was working in the office. The tone was urgent, as if something big had happened. "Shut up, don't alarm the Anbu outside." Before Obito could reply to his call, another hoarse voice came out from the aloe vera. "Don't worry, it's okay, those Anbu can't hear the noise in the office. Even so, you have to be careful. Ninjas always have some strange abilities. Who knows if someone can ignore the barrier and hear the noise in the office." Just when the jumpy voice was about to refute again, another mellow middle-aged voice interrupted the quarrel between one or two people. "Okay, White Zetsu, Black Zetsu is right. We still have to be careful." As the voice came out, a figure wearing a patterned mask walked out from the shadow behind the desk. It was Uchiha Obito. "Also, how many times have I told you not to call me by my name in front of outsiders? I am Madara now." As he said this, he turned his head and glanced at the fourth Mizukage Agura beside him, and a scarlet light flashed in his eyes. Just when he was speaking, he felt that the other party seemed to struggle for a while. As his pupil power burst out, the fourth Mizukage, who had ignored Zetsu and his appearance, suddenly seemed tired and lay down on the desk without moving. This was not just a coma. When Agura woke up, he would not even remember what had just happened. "Tell me, what happened? Is it that Nagato is out of funds again?" The Akatsuki organization has just developed not long ago and is still in the stage of recruiting people and accumulating strength. It is completely supported by the funds he transferred from the Hidden Mist village. It's not Nagato. It's Orochimaru who has made a new discovery. Guess what the discovery is? I'll definitely surprise you when I tell you. Of course, if you tell me the feeling of sphincter incontinence, I will tell you what happened, as if worried that Obito would ignore him. White Zetsu continued, "It's very important." "Shut up, Black Zetsu." "What happened?" As for White Zetsu, Obito had given up on treating him and directly told him to shut up and looked at the other half of his body. Uchiha Toshiro has opened his Meixiang Sharingan. Compared to his other half, Black Zetsu was undoubtedly more reliable, and he directly told the news that Toshiro had opened his eyes. What? Obito was almost unable to suppress the fourth Mizukage and the three tails in his body when he suddenly heard the news that Toshiro had opened his Meixiang Sharingan. However, he quickly recovered and looked at Black Zetsu and asked urgently, "When was this news? Do you have any specific information about the opponent's eye technique?" "Not long ago, Orochimaru used us to find Uchiha Toshiro and fought a big battle with him. We were watching nearby and saw him use Susanoo, fought with Orochimaru. He knew that Orochimaru used White Zetsu to find Toshiro, so he asked White Zetsu to follow him and see if he could collect any useful information. He just didn't expect that the opponent would give him such a big surprise, or shock." "What is the opponent's eye technique?" "The most important thing about the Meixiang is the eye technique. He relies on the power of Kamui to make trouble in the ninja world. If the opponent also awakens some difficult eye technique, it will be troublesome." "I don't know." After getting such an answer, Obito's one-eyed man under the mask looked at Black Zetsu with some hostility and repeated, "I don't know? This guy is Madara's spy, and Obito has never had a good impression of him." "Yes, Uchiha Toshiro stopped fighting with Orochimaru after using Susanoo. We have no way to collect information about the opponent's eye technique." Black Zetsu was also helpless. He wanted to collect information, but the opponent didn't give him this opportunity. In this way, things become a little troublesome. With one hand on the desk, Obito hesitated. How should he deal with this sudden news? And the Uchiha clan can produce him, and then Toshiro. Would there be other Meixiang in the future? If left alone, this family may become the biggest obstacle in his plan in the future. Obito, Uchiha Toshiro must not be left here, or he will definitely become an obstacle to the plan. Toshiro was once the person he favored to execute the plan. He had shown outstanding talent since childhood, and was completely different from Obito. Now that he has opened the Meixiang, it is better to get rid of him as soon as possible, so as not to become an obstacle to his resurrection of his mother in the future. Don't worry too much. The other party does not have White Zetsu cells, and the Meixiang has great limitations. It does not pose a threat. Let's wait until we have dealt with things here. It just so happens that if we want to control the 4th generation Mizukage for a long time, the preliminary preparations have been almost done. We will deal with him then. The consumption of the Meixiang first is still very large. The other party is not like himself. Half of his body is white Zetsu. He has no way to perform eye techniques without scruples. The threat is still within the controllable range. Moreover, although the 4th generation Mizukage has been controlled by him, he still needs to make some preparations to control him for a long time, otherwise the other party may escape from his control. He also needs to go to Konoha to investigate the specific information of the 10 Tails. Although Madara has a complete set of information, he doesn't trust this old guy. Chapter 404, Psychic. Will there be any problem with Orochimaru? He obviously joined the organization with bad intentions. Just as Obito was about to end this conversation, Black Zetsu seemed to have thought of something and raised his own question. Given this guy's nature, he will definitely try to get Nagato's samsara. If we just let him stay in the organization, what if something unexpected happens? Nagato? No, the samsara in Nagato's eyes is of great importance. Black Zetsu felt that he should be more careful, otherwise if something unexpected happened in the middle of the conversation, he would not be able to conjure up another pair of samsara. Orochimaru was recruited by Nagato. With Nagato watching, nothing will go wrong. He was still quite confident about the samsara. Even if Orochimaru was one of the 3 ninjas, he would not be able to cause any trouble. And he also felt that Nagato did a good job. Instead of letting such a venomous snake spy on him, it would be better to let the other party be under his nose. In this way, he could also use the other party's power to serve the organization. I have something to do. White Zetsu, who had been muted, saw that the conversation was coming to an end and spoke up quickly. Uchiha Toshiro has my tissue cells. What's going on? As soon as White Zetsu said this, not only Obito, but even Black Zetsu's voice changed, and they quickly asked White Zetsu what was going on. Obito, don't you remember that time when I wore my clothes to save Rin? This guy took the cell tissue from my body. At that time, the other party took a small piece of his body, and in order not to expose his existence, he did not dare to react at all. He didn't think much of it at the time, but now thinking about it, the other party's action of taking cells from his body revealed a strange taste. That time, as soon as Beiju said it, Obito remembered it. It's just that, this matter should have nothing to do with the other party opening the Meixiang Sharingan. After all, that happened 6 or 7 years ago. This matter cannot be underestimated. Uchiha Toshiro must be eliminated. After communicating with White Zetsu and knowing what happened, Black Zetsu was a little unsure whether the other party did this out of curiosity or intentionally. If it was the former, it would be fine. If it was the latter, this Uchiha Toshiro might know something he shouldn't know. Okay, you're all too sensitive. A small piece of White Zetsu cells can't play a key role. At most, it can delay the time when the opponent's Meixiang is blind. Obito didn't care too much about this. It was just a small piece of White Zetsu tissue, which was not enough to supply the consumption of Meixiang. In this regard, he has a say. Let's follow the original plan. After we have completely controlled Yagura and put the Akatsuki organization on the right track, we will consider Uchiha Toshiro and the Uchiha clan. But Black Zetsu obviously has a different opinion on this matter. If it was just a small piece of White Zetsu cells, the problem would not be too big. But after that, there was a case of White Zetsu disappearing. Those missing White Zetsu were in the spies of Konoha, and the other party happened to be active near the Mist village during the time when White Zetsu disappeared. This made him suspicious. After making the decision, Obito saw that Black Zetsu was still somewhat dissatisfied, so he interrupted him and changed the subject. Don't worry, it won't take too long. In no more than 1 or 2 years, we can come to an end here. Our focus should still be on Nagato. When he has enough people, it doesn't matter whether there is Yagura or not. After saying this, Obito stood beside Yagura's desk and looked at the unconscious figure quietly. It turns out that no one who can be a Kage is an easy person. Even if he has the Meixiang, it is still a bit difficult to completely control him and the three-tailed beast in his body. It would be better if the other party was not a Jinchuriki. so that he could directly use White Zetsu to pretend to be the other party, and he would have more time to keep an eye on Nagato. As for all this, Toshiro was completely unaware. He was now looking at the Iwagakure ninjas in front of him, who suddenly became nervous with a headache. He was now hiding in an empty and unmanned residence of Iwagakure. The owner of this house should have been on a mission outside for a long time, and no one cared about him at all, so he used it as his current foothold. At night, Toshiro quietly went to the Rock Ninja Cemetery, wandered around here, and finally found the target he was looking for. It's you. Controlling a small snake made of ink, Toshiro secretly stole some of the body tissue of the Rock Ninja high-ranking official, and took advantage of the night to leave the Rock Ninja village. What are you talking about? Four-tailed Old Purple has already fallen out with the Tsuchikage, and he ran away from the village so willfully. In a hidden place outside the Rock Ninja village, Toshiro used the bandits he had captured in advance to summon the Rock Ninja high-ranking official who had just been buried not long ago. Hearing the news from the other party, Toshiro couldn't help but frown. When did it happen? Just last month. An old man with a thin body and a dull expression answered Toshiro's questions without reservation. Last month. Hearing this, Toshiro regretted a little. He shouldn't have collected the tailed beast chakra while traveling all the way. If he had come here earlier, things would have been much simpler. Do you know where the secret scroll of dust release is? Since the person has left the Rock Ninja, it is useless to continue to worry about it. It is better to ask about the things that concern him. Dust release was taught by the Sandaime personally, and no paper materials were left behind. As if making a final struggle, this senior Rock Ninja spoke in pauses, trying his best to control his thoughts. However, these resistances have no effect at all in front of Toshiro. Where is the body of the second Tsuchikage, and who is the Jinchuriki of the Five Tails? The Rock Ninja's dust release was actually passed down by word of mouth, which was somewhat beyond Toshiro's expectations, but this did not stump him. I can't ask you, Inoki, but I still have your master. I just don't know if Master Yuan will fight me when he summons the second Tsuchikage. The Jinchuriki of the Five Tails is Han, who lives in the northwest corner far away from the village. The second Tsuchikage is buried At this point, the body of the senior Rock Ninja suddenly disintegrated and the summoning was automatically terminated. TSK. Is this the so-called Wall of Stone? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405 Thoughts. Night falls. On the edge of Rock Shadow Village in the land of Earth, there stands a lonely stone house, made of earth and stone, solid and stable. Surrounding the stone house is a barren land with weeds and a few dead trees standing on the side, adding a bit of desolation and loneliness. From a distance, the house is pitch black, with only a shaky oil lamp flickering a faint light. The moss on the wall and the dust on the ground are silently telling the loneliness and solitude of this stone house. In the horror legend of Rock Ninja Village, there lives a terrifying monster here, who likes to eat disobedient children the most. Another miserable Jinchuriki. From a distance, Toshiro looked at the stone house, then turned on his perception ability, determined the location of the Anbu around, and then sneaked into the darkness silently. When he appeared again, he had already touched the door of the house. As for those troublesome Iwagakure Anbu, they have fallen asleep now. Even if the noise here is a little louder, they will not notice anything. As for whether the other party will have doubts afterwards, it has nothing to do with him. At that time, he has been away from Iwagakure for who knows how far. Who is it? Before Toshiro can continue his next move, a rough questioning voice came from the room. Han, the Sandaime has something to ask you. Seeing that he was discovered by the other party, Toshiro was not at all panicked, and lied even more. The Tsuchikage is looking for me? It's so late. What does the Sandaime want to ask me? Hearing the voice outside the door, a puzzled voice came, followed by a series of dull footsteps. Although it was a bit strange that the Tsuchikage came to him at this good time, Han was only slightly surprised. Since Lao Zi and the Sandaime Tsuchikage had a falling out, his life has become difficult. Although Inoki did not vent his anger on him, his control over him has become more strict. Creak. After packing up, Han opened the door and prepared to follow the visitor to the Tsuchikage's office. Just as he opened the door, before his left foot stepped out of the threshold, a flash of scarlet light appeared, and before he could react, he slowly fell down. As he fell, waves of scarlet chakra began to flow out of his body, and scarlet bubbles emerged from these red chakras from time to time. Be quiet. Glancing at these bubbles that exploded from time to time, Dong Qilang was not at all panicked. He had already set up a shielding barrier around him, and he was not worried that the other party's chakra movement would attract the attention of the rock ninja. What happened to me? The next morning, Han, who had just woken up, looked at the door beside him and woke up from his sleep. What happened? Why am I sleeping on the ground? Regardless of the stiffness in his body, Han quickly got up from the ground, holding his breath and concentrating his attention on his abdomen. King Mu, what happened? Seeing that King Mu in his body was fine, Han was very curious about what happened last night and why he couldn't remember anything. I don't know. Glancing at Han, the five-tailed King Mu ignored him. It didn't know what happened last night. In its memory, it was just like usual last night. Nothing unusual happened. It just knew that some of its chakra was missing, but such a little chakra was nothing to it, so it didn't care too much. Han didn't have any good way to deal with King Mu's non-cooperation, and he couldn't beat him. Han withdrew from the sealed space in his body in a huff, and looked at the Anbu who were also confused in the distance, and he had a headache. Fortunately, nothing happened to these Anbu, otherwise there would be a lot of trouble with the Sandaime. After getting the chakra of the tailed beast, after sealing Han and King Mu's memory, Tawashiru left Hiwakage village overnight. 1 month later, there is really no trace. On a hill in the land of Earth, Tawashiru looked at the environment around him and had a headache. If I remember correctly, Lao Zi should have found a place to live in seclusion. People who stay in one place and don't move are the hardest to find. It's so difficult to find a ninja who wants to hide in such a vast sea of people. After a month, no useful clues were found. It seems that I have to change my mindset to find Lao Zi. After all, he is alone and has to find helpers. But after thinking about it, the only ones who can help him are the Uchiha family, or the cat lady. Thinking about it, he even doubted whether he would lose out if he didn't get a Hokage. Oh, why did I forget about them? As if he had thought of something, Dong Shilang's eyes lit up, and he hit his palm with his right fist, making a crisp sound. A cave with the large area, the moisture that never dissipates all year round hits the face. The stone wall is wet and slippery, covered with moss and various fungi. In the darkness, only the faint reflection and the echo of dripping water echoed in the ears. In the depths of the cave, a huge monster can be vaguely seen, squatting motionlessly in the same place. From the wood texture on its body, its hands locked by iron chains, and the 10 eyes tightly closed on its face, it is not difficult to tell that this is the Outer Path Demon statue. Pain. There is a new mission commission from the Rock Ninja Village. On the 10 fingers of the Outer Path Demon statue that are open upwards, there are now 5 illusory figures standing on them, namely Pain, Konan, Sasori, Orochimaru, and Zetsu. Very good. Now is the stage for the organization to raise funds. With the Rock Ninja as a big customer, it will also allow the organization to develop better. During this period, the Akatsuki organization received a large number of tasks from the Rock Ninja, including stealing intelligence, assassinating politicians, and secret sabotage. It seems that the next major task of the organization is to expand its manpower. Looking around, Sasori was recruited by Konan and can be trusted. Orochimaru is a guy with ulterior motives. As for Zetsu, he is basically Madara's subordinate. Does anyone have any good recommendations? Although these people are not trustworthy, it doesn't matter. Any small actions are not worth mentioning for me who has the samsara. Expand the manpower. Orochimaru glanced at Pain, licked his lips and said, I have a suitable candidate. His strength is quite strong. I just don't know if the leader can bring him into the organization. Looking at Pain's calm Rinnegan, An idea quietly emerged in Orochimaru's mind. Chapter 406, Ambush. If the other party joins, the strength of the organization will definitely be further improved. Who is it? Pain asked indifferently after glancing at Orochimaru, the candidate recommended by Orochimaru. Could it be that he is the same guy with ulterior motives as him? Unlike Pain's indifference, the other 3 or 4 people who participated in this party had the same thought in their minds at the same time. Uchiha Toshiro, ignoring the suspicious look of his new companion, licking his lips, Orochimaru's amber eyes did not look directly at Pain, but used the corner of his eye to observe the ripples in the other's eyes. He is the strongest of the Uchiha family, a famous family in the ninja world. Like the leader, he has the legendary eye. He has defeated the 4th Raikage and the 8 Tails Jinchuriki together, and has fought against the 9 Tails. In order to strengthen the persuasiveness of his words, Orochimaru introduced Toshiro's achievements to the members of the organization one by one. Legendary eye? Isn't Uchiha the Sharingan? Is there any secret of their Sharingan that I don't know? A clear-headed boy spoke up. It was the handsome red-haired Sasori. He looked at Orochimaru with a puzzled look on his face, as if he wanted him to give an explanation. Not only Sasori, but even Konan beside him. They all looked at Orochimaru with puzzled eyes. There was also Nagato hiding in the dark, but he didn't show it. The Sharingan is not just the 3 Magatama that are shown. There is another kind of eye above that. Orochimaru was a little disappointed that he didn't see the surprise in Pain's eyes, but he covered it up well. After explaining to Sasori, he continued, the other party has awakened the legendary power of the Uchiha, the Meixiang Sharingan, which is an eye that only the ancestor of the Uchiha, Uchiha Madara, has awakened. The other party is even more comparable to the ninja god who pacified the troubled times with these eyes. I don't know if it was an illusion, but Orochimaru felt that when he mentioned Uchiha Madara, Pain's eyes fluctuated a little, but he thought that the other party was just surprised by the name of Uchiha Madara. The speaker may not mean anything, but the listener may take it seriously. When hearing the name of Uchiha Madara from Orochimaru's mouth, Pain was fine, but Konan almost couldn't control her expression. Didn't the masked man with them claim to be Uchiha Madara? Did Uchiha Toshiro awaken the same eyes as him? Meixiang Sharingan? Is this another form of Sharingan? What are the characteristics? Scorpion is worthy of being a member recruited by Konan to the organization. He asked the question in Konan's mind very well. She has always been wary of Uchiha Madara, and it is just right to take this opportunity to collect some information about the Meixiang. The Meixiang is a Sharingan above the 3 Magatama. The eyes are not the basic Magatama form. They have their own eye techniques and an ability called Susanoo, which is very terrifying. Orochimaru worked so hard to cheer for Toshiro, not just to pull Toshiro into the organization. Looking at Pain, who was like a sculpture beside him, a hidden light flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. It's not so easy to get your own things. Toshiro actually got so many benefits. Orochimaru was very unhappy. The Meixiang Sharingan is extraordinary, but with the leader's strength, you can try to pull Uchiha Toshiro into the organization. At this time, a hoarse male voice came from Zetsu's position. He was a little uneasy about Toshiro opening the Meixiang Sharingan. Now Orochimaru proposed to pull him into the organization. Zetsu felt that this was a better way to deal with him than letting Obito deal with him. Even if Uchiha Toshiro's strength is amazing, Pain should be able to suppress him, and at worst he can consume the pupil power in his eyes. In this way, Obito might be able to use the condition of helping him recover his vision to make him work for his plan. Oh, even Zetsu thinks it's worth a try? Hearing Zetsu's words, Pain stared at Zetsu with oppressive eyes for a while before speaking lightly. I'll consider this. In fact, deep down in his heart, he also distrusted the so-called Uchiha Madara. This time was also a good opportunity to test the details of the Meixiang Sharingan. However, Zetsu's attitude made him hesitate. Could this Uchiha Toshiro be in the same group with Madara? The other party was also Uchiha, and just happened to awaken the Meixiang Sharingan. Zetsu also agreed that he should go and pull the other party into the organization. No matter how you look at this matter, it reveals a hint of conspiracy. Don't rush this matter. The important thing now is to complete the mission of the Rock Ninja. It is still necessary to think carefully about pulling Toshiro into the organization, but compared to this, it is still necessary to complete the mission of the Rock Ninja quickly. The matter of the sponsor is the most important thing. Zetsu, you are the most suitable candidate for the mission entrusted by the Rock Ninja this time, so I will leave it to you to complete. His main body has already learned the specific content of the mission from Zeonin, and the mission entrusted by the other party is indeed suitable for Zetsu to complete. One thing is to find a ninja named Murasaki, and another thing, Murasaki. X2 When they heard the name of Murasaki, not only Zetsu, but even Orochimaru was a little strange. They both knew the identity of Murasaki, the Jinchuriki of the Rock Ninja, not to mention Orochimaru. He used to be a high-ranking official in Konoha, and he knew everything about the high-end combat power of the Rock Ninja. As for Zetsu, there was nothing he didn't know about the tailed beasts, and the identity of Murasaki was no exception. This is interesting. In Orochimaru's opinion, this task revealed a strange taste. If the Rock Ninja's Murasaki disappeared, how could they entrust a mercenary organization to find him? What's the matter? Seeing Orochimaru speak, Konan asked with some confusion. She took over this task from the Rock Ninja, and she didn't think there was anything wrong at the time. But when she heard Orochimaru's doubtful voice, she realized that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Nothing, just a little strange about the other party's identity. Maybe the Rock Ninja thought that the Akatsuki organization didn't know the identity of Murasaki at all, so they entrusted this task to Akatsuki. After being slightly surprised by the Iwagakure's behavior, Orochimaru put the matter behind him. He wanted to focus more on pain than on these irrelevant things. He didn't know if a violent conflict would break out between Toshiro and Pain, and whether he would have a chance at that time. Chapter 407 Self-Blame. Z. This mission is for you. The Rock Ninja entrusted 2 missions this time, both of which are more suitable for Zetsu to complete. After completing these, remember to pay attention to Uchiha Toshiro's whereabouts. These 2 tasks are no problem, but Uchiha Toshiro's whereabouts are not easy to find. He didn't expect that the Rock Ninja's Jinchuriki was missing, and he was entrusted to find him. This is really the right person. As for Uchiha Toshiro, this person is always erratic, and he can also fly ninjutsu, so his whereabouts are difficult to lock. If Orochimaru hadn't accidentally discovered his whereabouts last time, he probably wouldn't have been able to find him at all. This matter, as well as the tasks assigned by the Rock Ninja, are not urgent tasks. You can take your time to find them, no problem. After talking about this matter, the next step is to find suitable ninjas and pull them into the organization. But this matter cannot be rushed. Some small fish are easy to find, but there are not so many real strong ones. Nagato, are you really going to bring the Uchiha Toshiro into the organization? In the Rain Village, in a tall building with an inexplicable and weird atmosphere, Konan, who had just finished the organization party, looked at Nagato beside her with a worried look in her eyes. Also, do we really have to follow Madara's plan and start collecting tailed beasts? This will make us enemies with the 5 great nations. As a woman, although Konan was also sad about the death of her lover, the incident had already happened, and the murderer, Hanzo, was also dead. She felt that the matter could end here. Konan, I will never forget the day when Yahiko died. I also hope that no one will experience the pain I have experienced. Although Konan did not agree with Madara's plan, he still insisted on doing so. In his plan, the 5 great nations were free of tailed beasts, and he controlled the 10 tails. At that time, he would have absolute power of speech and would be the god of the world. At that time, the peace that Yahiko hoped for would surely usher in the dawn, just like the name of their organization. But that Uchiha Madara is not trustworthy, and your current body can't stand the damage. Looking at the skinny Nagato, Konan's eyes showed a trace of pity. She knew that Nagato had always felt guilty for killing Yahiko with her own hands, and he had been blaming himself for this matter for so many years. She also tried to persuade him, but Nagato seemed unable to get over that matter. Konan, this is Yahiko's dream. Whether it is to become a god or to bring peace to the world, it is Yahiko's dream, and all he can do now is to help Yahiko fulfill his dream. On the other side, it took some time to find the person who contacted the Rock Ninja and the Akatsuki organization. Toshiro secretly controlled the other party and threw the search for Lousy and another task to the Akatsuki organization. Toshiro went straight to the Kirigakure. "Oh, Boss Fujiwara, is your business going well this time?" In a high-end hotel in the Mist Village, a boss who was fat and couldn't see his eyes when he smiled, squinted his eyes and greeted a middle-aged businessman with a small mustache on his chin. "Not bad, wait for another 10 days, and I can sell this batch of goods in my hand. Thank you for your care these days. When the time comes, I will definitely thank you." Boss Fujiwara, who had a small mustache, was tall and strong, and had a wealthy face. It seemed that because the goods in his hands were about to be sold, he made a promise to the owner of this hotel with a smile on his face. "Then I wish Boss Fujiwara good business." Boss Fujiwara, who came from the land of craftsmen, was a very generous guest. Because the goods in his hands were some luxury goods and could not be sold quickly, he had lived in his store for almost 4 months. In addition, he was a very generous guest, and the hotel owner was very flattering to him. "You idiots, why don't you hurry up and lead the way for Master Fujiwara? You are standing here, waiting for those ninjas to take you to question you." With the generosity of Boss Fujiwara, he introduced several merchants from the village to the other party. "When the business is done, the rewards will be very generous." Thinking of this, the owner of the inn hurriedly urged his men to lead the other party. "This is his big customer, he can't treat him badly." The ninja mentioned by the boss seemed to have some magic. When he heard these 2 words, the servants under his command seemed to be frightened and stepped forward to clear the way for Dong Shilang. The boss is so enthusiastic. Dong Shilang, who was transformed into the merchant Fujiwara, followed these people with a square step. He was not surprised why these servants were so terrified after hearing the word ninja. This is the characteristic of the blood mist. Let alone the blood ninja, even ordinary ninjas can make these civilians panic. Things are a bit difficult back in his room. Dong Shilang had a headache. Considering the special nature of the Mist Village, Toshiro did not act in his true self, but used the merchant's vest of Fujiwara in order to avoid the sight of white Zetsu. Of course, Fujiwara is a real person, but he is not a good person. After being dealt with by him, he came to the hidden Mist Village with his goods. He has collected 6 chakras of the tailed beasts, and has completed 2/3 of the goal. But the remaining 3-tailed, 4-tailed and 6-tailed are a bit troublesome. The 6-tailed is okay. He has already stepped on the spot, just waiting for himself to pick a time. He can collect the chakra of the 6-tailed. But the 3-tailed and 4-tailed are a bit troublesome. There has been no news from the Akatsuki organization about the 4-tailed, and even the 3-tailed is not easy to operate. Based on the intelligence he has collected these days, the 4th generation Mizukage has undoubtedly been controlled by Abido, and in order to implement the Blood Mist plan, his whereabouts are secretive. When he appears, he is also accompanied by a large number of guards, and is full of the figure of white Zetsu. It is almost impossible for him to get the chakra of the 3-tailed silently. It seems that we can't choose to do it in the hidden Mist Village. After a week of acting out the whole play, Toshiro decided that he could not do this in the opponent's home turf, and he had to find a way to transfer Yager away from the hidden Mist Village. That night, after Toshiro got the chakra of the Vulpix, he left the hidden Mist Village directly and began to implement his next plan. He didn't know that it was because of his disguise that he was not discovered by White Zetsu and also avoided pain, but these are all temporary. Chapter 408 Love. In the heart of the Land of Fire, on a devastated battlefield, a giant emerald green figure slowly put away the spiral longsword in his hand. From the fallen bodies around, the deep gullies on the ground, the unextinguished flames nearby, and the messy kunai shuriken, it can be seen that a great battle has just occurred here. Finally, these enemies have been dealt with. Wiping the blood stains from the corners of his eyes, Shizui put away his pupil technique, and then cast his eyes on the edge of the battlefield, where a dying Konoha ninja. Looking at the wounds on his body, it seems that he can't hold on for much longer. Taman, cheer up. Taking out the Uchiha secret medicine he carried with him, Shizui injected a tube of injection into Maeda Taman's body through the opponent's vein. Is this The mission completed. Relying on the effect of the Uchiha secret medicine to boost his spirits, Maeda Taman, who was already on his deathbed, looked at the corpses around him, and then locked his eyes on Shizui. "Daman, do you have any last words?" "No. I am just an orphan, and I don't have many friends in the village." Although he had realized that he didn't have much time left, Maeda Daman didn't show any hysteria or fear, and his expression was unusually calm. "In that case, I have something to ask you." Frowning, Shizui looked at this new companion who was about to die, and hesitated. However, when his eyes swept over another person, who was also wearing a green vest, but there was no sign of life, and there were a large number of corpses around, he reaffirmed his thoughts. "Our mission this time should be top secret. Even the Hokage should not know our specific retreat route. Why did these wandering ninjas happen to run into us?" And when they saw our forehead protectors, they attacked without saying a word. Before he carried out this mission, one of his teammates suffered backlash for practicing new ninjutsu. This Maeda Daman was a new teammate who joined their team under such circumstances. Because of the new members joining, Shizui was very careful along the way, but he didn't expect that when they were retreating after completing the mission, they would encounter such a sudden attack. The strength and cooperation of these wandering ninjas exceeded their expectations, and some of them were fearless and caused casualties to his team. Hearing Shizui's question, Maeda Taman glanced at Shizui, and then said nothing, as if he had accepted his fate and was silently waiting for the arrival of the god of death. "Don't say it, right?" His face sank, and Shizui didn't say anything to him anymore. He forced his already sour Sharingan to open and came close to Maeda Taman. Originally, Shizui couldn't do such a thing, but his other companion who had died in the battle had just become a father. When the other party's wife and children were discharged from the hospital, he also attended the family gathering at the other party's house. This time, he followed him out to perform the mission and an accident happened. How could he face the orphan and the widow? Ignoring Maeda Taman's struggle, Shizui forced open his eyelids and projected his scarlet Sharingan into his eyes. He was ready to control his mind and make him tell him all the answers he wanted to know. I am. As Shizui's pupil power was output, Maeda Taman's expression began to become dull. His mouth, which was originally tightly closed, began to open and close, as if he wanted to speak. "Is this a curse seal?" Seeing the other party's hesitation, Shizui also discovered something abnormal about him. Just when he was considering whether to use his pupil technique to cover the curse seal on the other party's body and make him speak. Maeda Taman let out a long breath, then his head tilted and turned into a corpse. Dead, the corners of his eyes, which were slightly raised, couldn't help but jump. Shizui didn't give up, but directly opened the other party's mouth and looked at Maeda Taman's tongue. "It's a root." Shizui didn't conclude that there was something wrong with the other party just because of this, but checked several corpses among the enemies again. It seems to be a ninja from the Cloud Ninja village. Fortunately, these people didn't have the same curse seal as Maeda Taman, but some traces on these people, as well as the ninjutsu they used, showed that the other party was a Cloud Ninja, and they should be elite. Am I really overthinking it? Shizui felt fortunate and a little confused that he didn't find anything wrong with these corpses. Could it be that he has been unlucky recently? In the past year, he has encountered 3 unexpected situations. Once, a killer suddenly appeared next to the protected target. Once, when stealing intelligence, his own intelligence was leaked. And this time, after the mission was completed, he encountered a sudden attack by the Wave Ninja. The frequency of accidents is too high. Hiruzen, Uchiha Shizui's strength is beyond our expectations. In the Hokage's office, Shizui had just left when Shizui came again. As soon as he sat down, he began to publicize Shizui's threat. The elite of the Kumo ninjas took action this time. Even with the intelligence we provided, they still failed. The Sandaime Hokage just listened quietly without expressing any opinions. Danzo was very disappointed. In the past year, he had only taken action 2 or 3 times. Each time, he was very careful and arranged the plan very carefully. Unfortunately, all his careful plans failed. This time, he even revealed Shizui's information to those Kumo ninjas. intending to use their power to solve this trouble. Unexpectedly, these guys who usually look up to the top are so useless. Even with the intelligence, they still failed. Although the Sandame had a tacit attitude, Danzo did not stop talking, but revealed a piece of news that made the Sandame's face change greatly. Uchiha Shizui, it is possible that he has opened the Meixiang Sharingan. What did you say? The Sandame, who had been watching Danzo's performance quietly with a calm look, finally changed his face after hearing about the Meixiang Sharingan. Danzo, can you confirm the accuracy of the information? He had heard of the Meixiang Sharingan when he was a child. After becoming Hokage, he flipped through the notes left by the second generation. There were only a few descriptions, but from the lines, he could feel his teacher's fear of this power. One Toshiro was already a headache for him, and now there was another Uchiha Shizui. God loved this family too much. Chapter 409. Enjoy. Our people went to investigate the scene afterwards. From the description of my subordinates, it is very likely that the other party has awakened the Meixiang, otherwise it would not be possible to have such a terrifying destructive power. Although he did not see it with his own eyes, his subordinates were near the scene of the incident and originally planned to go there to retrieve the Sharingan and kill people to silence them. However, the mission did not go according to his plan, and they could only collect information at the scene. Then he described the situation at that time. If it is a Meixiang, we have to increase Shizui's workload. According to the notes of the second Hokage, the Meixiang is flawed and will cause blindness after using it too much. It was the legendary Uchiha Madara who broke this shackle and obtained the eternal Meixiang. They only need to increase Shizui's workload and let the other party's pupil power be exhausted, and the problem can be solved. But this is not safe. Danzo did not comment on the third Hokage's proposal. Let Shizui's pupil power be exhausted and then blind. How can this be possible? If so, wouldn't his plan fail? Ever since he heard that Shizui might have awakened the Meixiang Sharingan, an irresistible desire has filled his heart. With the Meixiang Sharingan, the position of Hokage is not far away from him. I have recently connected with an organization, and the other party can become a helper for us to deal with the Uchiha. Who is it? I don't know, but the other party should be from the land of water. Just last night, an unidentified guy suddenly came to his door and wanted to cooperate with him to deal with the Uchiha clan. Danzo originally planned to arrest the other party directly, but the other party's methods were too clever, and the chips given were too tempting. He couldn't even refuse. Is it reliable? The third generation did not ask who the other party was, but just asked if the other party was reliable, so as not to lose the rice when the time comes. The other party promised that Uchiha Toshiro can be dealt with by them. Reliable? Only you are the most reliable in this world. You are already so old. Don't you understand this truth? Looking at the third generation Hokage, Danzo felt that the other party was really old. How are you going to deal with Shizui? Seeing Danzo's solemn promise, the Sandame didn't ask much, but he was still a little hesitant about Shizui. After all, the other party was the blood of Kagami. So, Shizui was the premise for him to start cooperating with the other party. Only if the other party could kill Shizui, he would cooperate with the other party. As for Kagami, he was already dead. Don't get too involved in this matter, try to let your collaborator do it. This matter must not be related to the village in any case, otherwise it will become very troublesome after failure. As for whether the other party can deal with Uchiha Toshiro, he didn't have much hope. Shizui's child. What a pity. Why did it have to be Uchiha ? At this time, the capital of the land of water. This is a pearl floating on the water, full of gentleness and romance. A continuous cloud and mist came, connecting the city with the sky and the earth. The clouds and the reflection of the waves made people feel as if they were in a dream. There was no noise of cars and horses in the city, only gentle waves and whispers of the breeze. Small boats shuttled among buildings of different styles, forming an ink painting with the surrounding buildings that were either simple and elegant or modern and avant-garde. TSK. Sakura-hime still understands me the best. Dong Shilang held the grapes in his mouth, feeling the sour and sweet taste in his mouth, and had long forgotten about collecting the three-tailed chakra. Hate. Does the daimyo dislike Shuiji for not being gentle and considerate enough? Before Dong Shilang swallowed the grapes in his mouth, a charming voice came into Dong Shilang's ears. Then, a white finger as warm as jade gently pinched a peeled lychee and handed it to Dong Shilang's mouth. How could it be? Shuiji is the most gentle woman I have ever seen. How could I dislike you? After taking a bite, the juice splashed everywhere. The lychees of the land of water are indeed top grade. This matter has to start from a year ago. Originally, Dong Shilang was going to use the identity of the daimyo of the land of water to see if he could transfer the 4th Mizukage from the hidden mist village to discuss the funding of the mist ninja. It would be convenient for him to get the chakra of the 3 tails from him, but he didn't expect that as soon as he arrived in the water capital, Dong Shilang encountered the daimyo of the land of water taking a concubine. Isn't this a coincidence? It just so happens that he wants to use the daimyo of the land of water. He can also enjoy the treatment of the daimyo and taste the specialties of the land of water. Why not? As for those so-called guardian ninjas, he didn't take them seriously at all. He used 1 or 2 illusions to fool his people. He didn't even notice that the daimyo had been replaced. Of course, he didn't kill the daimyo of the land of water. He made a cellar under the daimyo's mansion and threw him in it so that the daimyo could recuperate. There was no way. These guys were very weak, and he was still doing it for his own good. Why did you stop? Musicians, keep playing, keep dancing in a spacious and bright palace. Dong Shilang sat high up in the first seat, admiring the singing and dancing below. He also held 2 beauties in his arms, 1 in each hand, and enjoyed the feeling of being hugged by both, as well as the decadence and depravity of feudal society. After appreciating the skills of the musicians of the water country daimyo's mansion and the graceful dance of the dancers, Dong Shilang seemed to feel a little tired and waved his hand to signal these people to leave. Then he put his hand on the edge of his eye sockets, closed his eyes and felt the situation in his eyes. It's almost there, it's almost there. A heartfelt smile rose from the corners of his mouth. Another reason why he lingered in the water country daimyo's mansion for more than a year was that he felt that his eyes were about to break through that limit. This was also one of the reasons why he had been pretending to be the water country daimyo for so long. Since he switched to using Hashirama's eye drops, his body and eyes have undergone another change. Whether it is chakra, physical fitness, pupil strength or recovery ability, they have all been significantly improved. Even the ability to adapt to natural energy has been significantly improved. The only bad thing is that because of the use of eye drops, the evolution time is a bit slow, but now it seems that it is not a bad thing. Leaning on the soft and delicate body of the beauty beside him, enjoying the other's meticulous service, Dong Shilang feels that this is life. Chapter 410, A Bido's Change. Shizui, is the mission going well? In the Uchiha base, Ichi, who had a rare break today, was going to take his lovely brother to the family training ground to practice shuriken techniques. He happened to meet Shizui, who had just come out of the Hokage building, and hurriedly went up to greet him. Long time no see, Shizui-san. As soon as he saw Shizui, Sasuke, who was originally excited, immediately greeted Shizui with a sullen face. He knew that as soon as this guy appeared, his brother would apologize to him again. Sure enough. Sorry, Sasuke. Shizui and I have something important to discuss. You can train by yourself today. Ichi stretched out his arm, stretched out 2 fingers, and gently tapped his brother's forehead. Sorry, your brother will lend it to me first. Looking at Sasuke's puffed up little face, Shizui smiled gently, touched the other's head before Sasuke dodged, and then took Ichi to the direction of his home. Shizui, this mission, although he didn't ask, Ichi knew that his mission would not go smoothly just by looking at the lonely look on his face. Ichi. Shizui opened his mouth, not knowing how to tell Ichi about his guess. He hadn't figured out the cause and effect of this matter yet. While Shizui was communicating with Ichi, in a remote corner of Konoha village, Danzo was quietly waiting for someone with a few of his men. As the space in front of Danzo rippled, a figure with a striped mask on his face and long hair appeared. See you again, Danzo. Appearing alone in front of Danzo, Obito looked down on his men who were waiting behind him. Another weird way of appearing. Opposite Obito, Danzo tilted his head slightly, looked at the gestures made by his men, and gave up the idea of further testing this mysterious man. These people were all talents with outstanding perception among his subordinates, and their eyes and ears were everywhere around them. Since they didn't find anything, it would be useless for him to test them. Since you are here today, it means that you are interested in the cooperation I proposed. It seems that we can have a good talk in order to get in touch with Danzo. Obito spent a lot of money this time and gave away a precious Sharingan, so that he could establish contact with the other party. As for the reason, it was naturally to deal with the Uchiha clan. After learning from Black Zetsu that his good brother opened the Meixiang, he thought about it and decided to destroy his own family. Of course, in order to deal with Black Zetsu, he would not destroy all the Uchiha clans. He would always leave one or two excellent accessories so that Madara would have a spare plug-in. Are there any conclusions? Watching this mysterious man disappear again, Danzo turned his eyes to the subordinates behind him. Based on the intelligence we have collected, one of the subordinates wearing a hood saw the ugly face of his boss and came out to answer the other party's questions. The other party should not leave in a conventional way. Whether it is our perception, barrier, or nearby insects and animals, there is no warning, we suspect. The other party used space-time ninjutsu. After combining their perception patterns and eliminating all possibilities, the answer they came up with was close to the truth. Space-time ninjutsu? Looking at the direction where the other party left, Danzo's one eye was full of fear. If this way of leaving is correct, it should be the culprit of the last Nine-Tails rebellion. If it weren't for the big trouble of Uchiha, he would never let this guy go easily. Kushina was not dead. As for what happened that night, they, the Konoha high-level officials, knew everything. Uchiha Madara, from the moment he heard the other party's self-proclaimed name, Danzo was a little disdainful. This person was just a coward who hid his head and showed his tail. How could he be the figure in his memory? But the eye under the other party's mask was a kaleidoscope. Thinking of the pattern he just glimpsed, Danzo began to secretly calculate, let this guy, Uchiha Shizui, and Uchiha Toshiro both suffer losses. Obito, do you really want to cooperate with this guy? He is one of the culprits who caused Rin's death. In a dark cave, Obito's figure just appeared, and a white figure asked, the culprit who caused Rin's death is this twisted world. Besides, I have already taken revenge on Konoha last time. Rin's tragedy was not caused by any one person. Even if there was no such incident, Rin might have died because of other things in the end. Only by changing this world can I prevent Rin's tragedy from happening again. Moreover, this time, using Danzo's power to deal with Uchiha, it may not be without the intention of making both sides lose. Let them both lose? White Zetsu obviously couldn't understand Obito's plan. Well, Uchiha Toshiro is not a good guy who just takes a beating and doesn't fight back. If he finds out about the little tricks in the village, he will definitely clash with the Konoha high-level officials. When the time comes, whether Konoha or Uchiha loses, we will be the ones who benefit. This is also Obito's real plan. Although this good big brother of his is always laughing and joking, he still identifies with his family very much. It is not surprising that he has a conflict with the Konoha high-level officials for this. When that time comes, we may be able to wait for an opportunity to take action. When talking about taking action, Obito was obviously a little hesitant. Take action? Kill Uchiha Toshiro? No, Uchiha Toshiro. From the information that Zetsu collected last time, he was not absolutely sure that he could kill him. The other party was not like Shizui, and he could also use the Konoha high-level officials to set a trap for him. Our target this time, in addition to the Uchiha clan, is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. He did not expect that he had already pulled the Nine-Tails out of Kushina's body last time, and the other party could still survive and continue to be the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. My teacher, really? But this also caused a problem. If the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is Kushina, it will be very difficult to deal with when they execute their plan. If I can take advantage of this opportunity to make Toshiro and the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki clash Uzumaki Kushina. Hearing Obito's answer, White Zetsu looked at Obito with a slight change in his eyes. Is this still the idiot who could only shout in his sleep? Rin and the idiot Kakashi? Chapter 411 Strange. Shizui, this time I have an important mission for you. In the Hokage's office, the Sandame's eyes, hidden behind his bamboo hat, quietly looked at the younger generation below who were respectful. "It's my honor." Kneeling on one knee, Shizui treated the Sandaime Hokage with respect as if he were his elder. He was very grateful to the Sandaime for giving him the opportunity to participate in regular missions, and was also very grateful for the Sandaime's training. "You should know very well that the war between the Mist Ninja and our Konoha has never stopped. Although large-scale battles have rarely occurred, small-scale infiltrations and border frictions have never stopped." Yes, could it be that this time, he was known as Shizui, the instant body, from the Mist Ninja, and he has always been paying attention to the war situation there. Just as the Sandaime Hokage said, the small-scale conflicts between Konoha and the Mist Ninja have never stopped. The Sandaime came to him this time and said something like this: "Could it be that, in the near future, the Mist Ninja will send a team of negotiators to Konoha to discuss the border issues between the two sides and the solution to the conflict?" Handing a scroll to Shizui, the Sandaime looked at Shizui, whose face showed a hint of joy, and sighed deeply in his heart. At the same time, he had a little doubt about his decision. From the face of this child, the Sandaime saw the desire for peace and the love for the village. "This is a child who inherited the will of fire. You should know what this means. I'm going to arrange for you to lead a team of elite personnel to serve as their guards." Looking at Shizui with a serious expression, the Sandaime continued, "Don't let me and everyone in Konoha down. Please rest assured, Sandaime, even if it costs my life, I will send them back to the village safely." Taking the scroll from the Sandaime's hand, Shizui did not feel any embarrassment because of this sudden task. Instead, he was full of longing for the upcoming peace in Konoha. "I don't know who will be my teammates this time." All of his current teammates were dead, and it was obvious that he couldn't carry out this mission alone. He was still cautious about possible new teammates. If a rude ninja appeared among them, he would have to be very careful. He couldn't let the tragedy of the last time happen again. "Don't worry, they are all teams you have worked with before." As the voice fell, a list was handed to Shizui. "There are 3 teams in total, all of which you have worked with before. You will be the squadron leader. I think you can escort these Mist Ninja negotiators back to the village safely. I guarantee to complete the mission." Seeing the familiar names on the list, Shizui sighed in his heart that he really thought too much. How could the Sandaime let him have an accident when it comes to peace? "Then, I'll go down and prepare first." With a happy face, Shizui saluted the Sandaime and secretly made up his mind that he must go all out for this mission. The peace of Konoha cannot be destroyed by anyone. "Go, I'm in Konoha, waiting for your good news." "Yes." Seeing the joy in Shizui's eyes, the Sandaime said nothing, and only sighed heavily after the other party walked out of the office. "He's gone." As soon as Shizui left, a figure appeared in the office quietly. "What's the point of sighing when everyone is gone, Danzo? Your plan this time." He opened his mouth and seemed to want to say something, but Danzo interrupted him. "Don't worry, this matter will not have anything to do with the village. It was the Mist Ninja who did it." This was the only requirement of the Sandaime. He couldn't let this matter have anything to do with the village. For this reason, he and Uchiha Madara wasted a lot of brain cells to come up with a plan. Mist Ninja used the name of peace talks to kill Shizui. Shizui killed a lot of enemies on the Mist Ninja battlefield. If the other party retaliated, there was nothing he could do. Even if it was the Uchiha side, there was nothing to say. "I know." After saying this, the Sandaime seemed to lose his strength all of a sudden and became even older. Ichi. "The Mist Ninja wants to negotiate with us." After returning home to prepare, Shizui walked towards the mission assembly point. On the way, he happened to meet Ichi, who was following Kakashi and behind him. "And Kakashi-senpai, Ichi is grateful for your care." Although both of them were wearing masks, their features were so obvious that Shizui recognized them at a glance. "Ah, it's nothing. I don't need to worry about Ichi at all. He is a very qualified team member." Waving his hands, Kakashi was more interested in why the Mist Ninja suddenly negotiated with them in Konoha than the other party's compliment. "This doesn't seem like the style of Blood Mist." "Shizui, is this true?" Hearing Shizui's words, Ichi was very happy. He had seen the cruelty of the battlefield since he was a child and was very eager for peace. Hearing this news, The cold expression on his face seemed to have loosened a little. Yes, I have received a relevant mission from the Hokage. The specific content of the mission cannot be disclosed to you, but I believe you will get the news soon. After saying this, Shizui did not stay there for long. He had to reunite with his teammates. Captain Kakashi, are you unhappy about the peace talks between the village and the Mist Ninja? With a barely perceptible smile on his face, the perceptive Uchi found that his captain was frowning, as if thinking about something, and asked curiously, "No, it's just a little strange that the Mist Ninja suddenly sent someone to negotiate." Having seen the Mist Ninja's fearlessness, Kakashi still had some doubts about this sudden arrival for peace talks, but he changed the subject. "Maybe I am too sensitive. Since the mission was issued by the third Hokage, there should be no problem." Maybe he really thought too much. Strange? Compared with Kakashi's indifference, Ichi obviously cared more about these details. "What are you talking about, Captain?" "As far as I know, the Mist Ninjas are isolated overseas, and they have the natural barrier of the sea, so they have always been fearless. Plus, they have always been cruel, so it's a bit strange that they suddenly negotiate with us." After a brief explanation, Kakashi waved his hand and said, "The mission has been completed, and now it's your free time." After saying this, Kakashi ignored Ichi's thoughtful look. Today is the anniversary of Rin and Obito's death, and he has to go to the cemetery to visit them, so he has no time to waste here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412. Why don't we just kill the fourth generation? Everyone stay alert. The people we want to protect are head a port on the coast of the Land of Fire was a busy scene. The flags on the dock were flying, and cargo ships, passenger ships, fishing boats and other ships gathered, making it very lively. The porters were busy loading and unloading goods, the merchants were bargaining loudly, the fishermen were busy going out to sea, and the passengers were hurrying on their way. A series of crisp chirping sounds came. That was the seagulls circling in the sky. Understood. Leading 3 teams of elite ninjas, they rushed to this port overnight. Looking at the lively scene around, Shizui frowned slightly. However, he didn't think much about it and walked towards the small boat quietly moored on the dock. Special Envoy Zong-Nong, I will escort you on the next journey to Konoha. Please take care of me. Zong-Nong was the leading ninja of the Mist Ninja who came to negotiate this time. After both parties confirmed their respective identities and greeted each other, Shizui went straight to the point and prepared to start this escort mission. Instant body Shizui. It seems that the third Hokage attaches great importance to this negotiation. After scanning Shizui's body, the White Sting envoy sighed, and then discussed the trip with Shizui. After a fairly friendly exchange, a team of nearly 20 people walked towards Konoha. The people have left. On a large passenger ship next to the boat where the White Sting was, a pair of emerald green eyes looked at the team in the distance without leaving a trace, and then retracted their gaze. The Uchiha family is really rich and handsome guys. I just don't know if they can withstand a passionate kiss. Meixiang, with waist-length brown hair, moist skin, and a plump figure, sighed as she looked at the surrounding scenery. At the same time, in her mind, she was recalling the actions of the ordinary people around her after the other party appeared. The people here are not afraid of ninjas. With a sigh towards the air around her, Meixiang's thoughts drifted to her own Kirigakure and the Land of Water. The hidden mist village was better. If they were in the Land of Water, the ordinary people there would be immediately frightened and at a loss when they saw the ninjas, or they would turn around and run away because of fear of them. But here, when the team of Konoha ninjas came just now, the civilians around them, although there was some commotion, soon returned to normal. Although they would occasionally look at the team of ninjas with surprised eyes, in her opinion, these were harmless. Yeah, the ordinary people here are not afraid of ninjas at all. Even if they have special blood, they will not be treated differently. A young man with blue and white hair also looked at the busy port below and sighed. Shut up, man, you. Are you trying to kill us? As soon as he finished speaking, A ninja next to him, who was dressed similarly to him but was obviously much older, quickly scolded him. "Don't worry, elder." Manu obviously didn't care about the scolding of the elder. In a frivolous tone, he said, "Look here, who doesn't have special blood and is treated specially? No one will tell on us." As he spoke, Manu gestured to the elder, asking him to look at the people in the room. Following his gaze, one by one, the ninjas with white hair and 2 red marks between their brows, or blue-white hair and slender figures, or brown hair, were scattered in this cabin. "Okay, Manu. If this matter is handled well, maybe the 4th generation will consider the treatment of us again." Hearing Manu's complaints, Midorumi comforted her, but she was not as optimistic as her words. Originally, these big families thought that the 4th generation just wanted to suppress the family ninjas in the village so as to vacate positions and promote their own confidants. The new official took office with 3 fires, and the past was over. However, things were far from as simple as they thought. The 4th generation did not intend to stop there. He united with those ordinary ninjas and repeatedly squeezed the right to speak of these blood ninjas. Who will be the next unlucky one? The names of Kaguya, Hazuki, and Terumi, who are famous in the Mist Ninja, emerged from her mind. Change? Will he change? Thinking of the difficult situation that the family faced before leaving the village this time, Hazuki Maingetsu's face became extremely ugly. "That man has gone crazy." Maingetsu roared unscrupulously, as if because he was far away from the village and away from the dark and moist eyes of that man, he really didn't understand why the 4th Hokage, whose attitude was not gentle but could communicate normally, suddenly changed so much after becoming the Mizukage. Could it be that the tailed beasts can also affect the character of the Jinchuriki? In my opinion, instead of fighting with the Uchiha guys here, we might as well go back and kill the 4th Hokage. Speaking out the words from the bottom of his heart, Maingetsu seemed to know that it was impossible to do so, and he couldn't help but feel a little bored. "I think this plan is feasible." Just as Maingetsu's voice fell, a tall, white-haired young man next to him took over. Obviously, he couldn't stand some of the actions of the Mizukage, and the fights between bloody ninjas and ordinary people were too troublesome. Manu's plan was more suitable for him. By then, no matter who it was, as long as it wasn't the current 4th Hokage, it would be fine. I think they wouldn't have to worry all day long, worrying that their families, wives, and children would be wiped out by the 4th Hokage. "Kaido, don't make a fuss. You should know that the 4th Hokage is the 3 Tails Jinchuriki, and a perfect 3 Tails Jinchuriki." In the cabin, another man with an ordinary figure and a gloomy face interrupted Kaito's fantasy and put the cruel reality in front of him. Especially when talking about the perfect Jinchuriki, the man with a gloomy face couldn't help but twitch his eyes. God knows how the 4th Hokage, this madman, could perfectly use the power of the 3 Tails in a short time after becoming a Jinchuriki. It made it extremely difficult for them to assassinate each other. "Then what do you say we should do?" "The 4th Hokage doesn't look like he will give up easily." Like Kaido beside him, Kaido, a member of the Kaguya clan, has recently felt Yagura's deep malice. Maybe after he returns from this mission, the Kaguya clan will no longer exist in the village. Chapter 413. Otherwise, let's all defect. What else can I do? Just chill. Rolling his eyes, Manu picked up the tea beside him and drank it in one gulp. After talking so much and being anxious, he needed to replenish some water. Ming, the elder Yuanshai. After drinking a sip of water, Manu turned his gaze to Terumi Mai, who had been staring at the scenery on the dock outside. He wanted to learn from her about the movements of the elder Yuanshai. The elder Yuanshai doesn't have any good ideas. Hearing Manu's question, Terumi Mai retracted her gaze and said slowly, "The news she got from the elders was even more cruel than what Manu and the others knew now." The village was already prepared, waiting for the bloodline families to jump out and resist, so that they could eliminate these families one by one in the name of suppressing the rebellion. "Manu, Kaido, the only advice the Yuanshai gave us is to let us be patient." The Yuanshai had no way out. Although he had a huge reputation in the Mist Village, he was not the Mizukage after all. With the cooperation of several elders who obeyed the orders of the 4th Hokage, He could only watch as the bloodline families in the village were wiped out one by the fourth Hokage. Faintly, she had a feeling that these elders in the village, as well as the fourth Hokage Mizukage, were a little abnormal. The entire Kirigakure village was filled with a strange atmosphere. Be patient. How can we be patient? The fourth Hokage's sword has already reached our necks. If we continue to be patient, there is only one way to die. Hearing the words from Mitorumi, both Maingetsu Kizuki and Kaguya Kaito had a look of despair in their eyes. Not only the two of them, but everyone in the cabin had a look of sadness on their faces. Most of them even thought that this mission was not to kill Uchiha Shizui, but to send them to the land of fire to die. The village planned to use Konoha to kill all of these bloody ninjas. How about we just defect? After a long silence, who knows who was so smart, suddenly said this, making the dead eyes of many guys shine again. It seems that compared to fighting with the fourth Mizukage and ending up with no body left, this is also a very good choice. But if we defect, our clansmen will. And we will have to face the pursuit of the Anbu later. This is something that defectors must face. Every one of them is carefully selected by the Miss Ninja. In the village, everyone has something they can't give up. Although defecting will face the pursuit of the Anbu later, at least there is a chance to save your life. Even if they are carefully selected, there are also some tough guys among them. They think very clearly whether to die together or save their own lives. Some of them are even more whimsical. As long as I am alive, if I have enough time, I can even create a new family. No, then all the families in the village will be finished. The fourth generation will not be polite to them. He is waiting for us to hand over the handle to him. At least this way we can ensure that we are alive. Really, the army is demoralized. Looking at her subordinates with flickering eyes, Taramimi felt a headache. With such a group of guys, she wanted to fight with the famous instant body Shizui. Even if she had an absolute advantage in numbers, she was still not sure. Okay, this is not my home after all. There are outsiders here. Don't talk nonsense. When talking about outsiders, Taramimi also looked at a tall and thin black-haired man with an eye patch next to her. As Taramimi's voice fell, the blood-stained ninjas in the room seemed to realize at this time that there was a non-blood-stained ninja in this cabin. One by one, they looked at a figure standing in the corner with sweat on his forehead. I won't be killed by these guys, will I? Hearing so many rebellious words and being stared at by so many people, King was panicking. He wanted to say that he was one of them, with the Byakugan of the Hyuga family, and had the same bloodline limit as them, so they were all in the same group. However, he was rational and didn't say a word. King ... You guys, right? It was Mitorumi who was more concerned about this Byakugan ninja, and asked about his condition very considerately. Don't listen to their nonsense. They are just talking. They won't really take action. What did you say? Did something happen here just now? Hearing Mitorumi's voice, King immediately stated that he didn't hear anything just now, and he was very humble in front of Mitorumi. At the same time, he secretly decided in his heart that he must hold on to the thighs of the other party in this mission. Otherwise, he would be killed by these guys before the fourth generation did anything to the families of these guys, and the Mist Ninjas would kill their companions without mercy. Even if he returned to the hidden Mist Village, it would be the same. Let's talk about Uchiha Shizui first. You've dealt with him before. Tell us about his intelligence. Mitorumi was very satisfied with King's attitude. He was a man with good eyesight. Whether to kill him in this mission would depend on his performance. Yes, sir. King did not hesitate at all. Even if these bloodline families were already on the verge of collapse, he did not look down on them at all. He put himself in a very low position as soon as he opened his mouth. Uchiha Shizui is very powerful and has no shortcomings. He is good at illusion, body flash technique, fire escape ninjutsu, and Uchiha-style swordsmanship. He is a perfect ninja, especially the opponents sharing an illusion and body flash technique, which are very terrifying. No shortcomings. Perfect ninja. King, aren't you exaggerating a little too much? A guy who obviously had never seen the Uchiha's strength couldn't help but refute King when he saw King exaggerating. According to King, this Uchiha Shizui is proficient in ninjutsu, taijutsu, and illusion. No, I'm not exaggerating. The opponent's Sharingan illusion and the Uchiha family's inherited fire ninjutsu are all very tricky. And the excellent insight of the pupil technique, combined with the opponent's instant body movement technique and swordsmanship, there are no shortcomings in physical skills. He is a very tough enemy. Faced with his companion's doubts, King did not get angry, but began to explain Shizui's strength one by one. Chapter 414, Hurrying and Abnormal, Perfect Ninja. Hearing King's story, Midorumi frowned slightly under her bangs. It seemed that this mission was more troublesome than she had imagined. The most troublesome thing about Uchiha Shizui is his illusion and the instant body technique. In the last mission, we had to retreat because of the opponent's illusion, King said with a sigh in his tone, as if he was recalling the experience of the last mission. Tell me in detail. Yes, King followed Midorumi's words. If he didn't want to be killed by those companions with bad eyes behind him, he must hold on to the opponent's thighs. How could he dare to hide anything? Last time when the opponent cast an illusion, we didn't even have eye contact with the opponent. The opponent was even out of our sight, and my subordinates had already been hit by the opponent's illusion. Thinking of the last terrifying experience, King's eyes trembled uncontrollably. Uchiha Shizui left a deep impression on people, especially in his Byakugan vision, the emerald green pupil power in the other party's eyes. He could never forget it after just one glance from afar, especially the other party's illusion method. Looking back afterwards, I didn't find any clues. We have no idea when the other party started the fight and when they cast the illusion. Another illusion master, thinking of the last time he led his team and entangled with Uchiha Toshiro, the other party's illusion without any trace and hard to defend against also caused them a lot of trouble. When you fight tonight, the members of each team should not be too scattered, so that they can take care of each other. It seems that she still feels that this is a little unsafe. Midorumi turned to King and said, King, you have the Byakugan. When fighting, you must always observe the situation of your teammates and not miss any abnormality. Even if everyone takes care of each other in groups of 3, it is still a little unsafe. If the other party casts a large-scale group illusion, everyone may be hit together. Fortunately, the village sent the Byakugan ninja now this time. Otherwise, when they faced the Sharingan, the casualties would become somewhat uncontrollable. Uchiha, if I remember correctly, the other party should be the largest clan in Konoha. After making preliminary arrangements for this mission, Midorumi combined the information obtained this time and the situation in the village, and very keenly grasped one of the key points of this mission. I didn't expect that Konoha, which has always been based on the will of fire as the core idea of building a village, would actually have something like our Kirigakure. As if she had thought of the same thing with Midorumi, Kizuki Maingetsu took over the conversation, revealing a sense of helplessness and very obvious gloating in his tone. It seems that something similar to their Kirigakure happened here in Konoha, which made him feel much better. Not only him, but all the blood ninjas in the entire cabin felt a sense of sympathy when they heard the news, and then the panic in their hearts calmed down a lot. When you are having a hard time, you will feel inexplicably happy when you see your colleagues having similar experiences as you. Special Envoy Zongbai, what are they doing? Shizui, who was on his way, looked at the negotiation team of Mist Ninja and approached the side of Special Envoy Zongbai, asking in a somewhat curious way. Sorry, maybe these guys are too weak and haven't traveled long distances for a long time, so they made a fool of themselves. As soon as Zongbai's words fell, a mist ninja who landed on a tree branch seemed to have lost control of the strength of his feet. He stepped on the bark and cracked it, and then took advantage of the sudden burst of speed to jump onto another branch. Seeing that his subordinates had problems under their feet again, Zongbai couldn't help but say a little embarrassedly, maybe it's because this is the hinterland of the Land of Fire. There is no problem with safety, and there are ninjas like Shizui protecting us. So we are a little lax. Before he finished speaking, his subordinates had such problems, and Zongbai's face couldn't help but be embarrassed. Excuse me, Mr. Shizui, these guys are all government officials. When they were in the Mist Ninja, they didn't participate in battles much. Their strength was ordinary. Now they have made such a big fool of themselves. It's really embarrassing. Is that so? Shizui lowered his eyes and looked at the traces that the other party had just passed. As a ninja who had maxed out the tracking skill, Shizui's brows slightly frowned. At the same time, he set his eyes on the back of the team. These mist ninjas had no scruples when they were on the road. The shoe prints, cracks, and broken flowers and plants left along the way were simply countless. This didn't look like a ninja on the road. Even those kids who haven't graduated from the ninja school would be like this when they were on the road. Even if these people were government ninjas, it didn't make sense that they were usually neglected in training. Moreover, with his eyesight, he could still tell that although these ninjas in the other team were not very strong, they had more or less reached the level of ordinary chunin. You guys, be careful when you're on the road, don't lose face for us Miss Ninjas. As if seeing his subordinates being too embarrassing, the white sturgeon shouted loudly, asking them to be careful with their actions. Yes, the responses came one after another. After a period of time, the traces left by these mist ninjas when they were on the road were indeed much less, but there would still be some small problems from time to time. Ishii, take your people to cover up those traces and make some misleading arrangements. Changing positions and coming to the end of the team, Shizui said to his companions. Although the other party had restrained a lot, the traces left by the road were the guiding lights in the eyes of him, the tracking master. It would be unreasonable not to cover them up. Okay. Ishii obviously also noticed this situation. After hearing this, he gestured to the companions behind him, slowed down his pace, and slowly fell behind the team. I hope this works. Although Ishii did some cover-ups and misleading, the traces left by a team of 20 to 30 people in the deep forest were still very obvious. They could not be hidden from the experts in tracking. The white sturgeon looked back and saw all this. Seeing Shizui's actions, he did not express any opinions. He just smiled at Shizui and continued on his way, as if nothing had happened. Chapter 415, Instant Body. That night, in the heart of the Land of Fire, under the deep night sky, a primeval forest stood quietly, and everything was silent. Only the occasional wind whispered in the forest, causing ripples. The night sky was full of stars, and a bonfire was burning at the edge of the forest. The firelight shone brightly in the night, and the light swayed in the wind, casting bright and dark shadows. Shizui, you should also take a rest. The companion who had cooperated with Shizui several times, looking at the figure still sitting by the bonfire, reminded him, if you do this, you won't be able to maintain your best condition during the day tomorrow. Don't worry, Gamatsu, this won't affect my condition. In response to his companion's kindness, Shizui returned a fairly cheerful smile. Forget it, whatever you want. But you still have to take care of your body. For a ninja of Shizui's level, not sleeping for just 1 or 2 nights is not a big problem for him. Gamatsu just gave a warning and didn't say much, and dived into a tree canopy in the distance and disappeared. The situation seems a little bad. Shizui, who had been on the road all day and was still on night watch after nightfall, looked up at the quiet primeval forest around him. Although he was not a professional perception ninja, he could not accurately judge whether there were any enemies around. However, ninjas of his level generally have good intuition and are extremely sensitive to dangerous sources. Although there was nothing unusual in the surrounding forest, combined with some strange actions of the mist ninja envoys today, Shizui still had a feeling that danger was approaching. Coming under the canopy where Komatsu was hiding, Shizui made a few gestures, and then turned into a residual image and disappeared on the spot. Just as Shizui disappeared into the night, a team of ninjas with more than 30 people took advantage of the cover of night and quietly moved towards their camping place. Everyone, be alert, we are approaching the target. Looking at the signal given by the trekking ninja leading the way in front, Mitorumi said to her companions behind her. King, use your Byakugan to confirm our tracking route, and observe those Konoha ninjas, especially the target of our mission this time. Yes. After receiving the order, King made seals with both hands. Buy-in, open. Now they are close to the target's location. With the sight range of his Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, he can already vaguely see the other party. This is no. Before he could say be careful, a mist ninja who was clearing the way in the distance suddenly let out a shrill scream. and then fell straight down from the tree with a muffled bang. Everyone be careful. The attacker is at our 9 o'clock direction. The person coming is. The veins around his eyes bulged. King only had time to remind his companions, and he didn't even have time to report the name of the attacker. He immediately activated the instant body technique and left his original position. Swish. Just as he left, a blurry figure appeared where he was originally standing. This is not the end. Seeing the prey under his knife escape, the figure of the person coming blurred again. Then, a bright knife light, under the moonlight, faintly glowed with a cold fluorescence, pointing directly at King's throat. I'm dead this time. Through the perspective of the Byakugan, King seemed to have seen the fate of having his throat cut as he looked at a figure emitting blue chakra, holding a sharp short knife in his hand, slashing at his throat. I can't let you kill him. Just when King was ready to close his eyes and wait for death, a tall figure blocked in front of him and punched towards Shizui's left side. I'm saved. King, who just thought he was dead this time, looked at the figure in front of him and felt fortunate. Fortunately, he was worried about being ambushed by his companions, so he followed Meixiang closely. Otherwise, with the opponent's attack speed, no one could save him. As for Meixiang's curvy figure from the perspective of the Byakugan, King said that his Byakugan had a blind spot. Poof. Before King could breathe a sigh of relief, Meixiang, who was attacking the attacker, passed through the figure of the attacker and smashed a piece of bluestone beside the attacker. Be careful, it's behind you. Before she could be surprised at when the opponent cast the phantom clone, and without King's reminder, Meixiang had already discovered the threat behind her. She twisted her waist with amazing explosive power, used her right leg as the axis, turned around and swept her leg horizontally, and attacked the figure behind her with a ruthless scorpion tail swing. The left leg was so powerful that the air around it whirred. King, on your side. The wind from her left leg spread everywhere. Before Meixiang's long leg touched the opponent's body, she judged that there was another phantom clone in front of her. Where is the opponent's real body? Without any thought, she knew instinctively that the opponent's target must be King. The fact was just as she thought. Behind King, another figure of Shizui appeared. The ninja sword in his hand was raised lightly, and the tip of the sword was less than 10 centimeters away from King's throat. 10 fingers pierced the bullet. It should be said that King was very lucky. No. It should be said that his teammates were quite a lot. Just when the tip of the knife of the person who came was about to pierce King's throat and end his life, 10 rounds in a row. In the night, the finger bones that looked a little pale shot towards the back of the attacker. Obviously, if the person who came continued to attack King, he would have to bear this wave of attacks, which were far more powerful than ordinary throwing weapons. Swish, puff puff puff. The reverberation after a high-speed instant reflex echoed, followed by a series of sounds similar to shuriken hitting the target's flesh. A cry of pain with a sense of oppression came, and King, who was originally not far from death, had blood splashing all over his body, and blood holes were opened by the finger bones that attacked the attacker. But he did not blame his teammates. This was the style of the Mist Ninja. He was very grateful that they could help him. There was no reason for him to complain. The attacker is Uchiha Shizui. King took a breath and only then finished the words he had not said. He wiped the cold sweat from his head, endured the pain in his body, and jumped to the side of Mai. Facing Uchiha Shizui, he felt that instead of hiding behind, he might as well follow behind Mai to feel safe. The opponent's instant body technique was too weird. Chapter 416 Questioning. Swish, swish, swish. A dense and high-speed response lingered in the forest. Then there was a long silence. Under the cold moonlight, the scene in a primeval forest was like a still painting. More than 30 elite mist ninjas were scattered on the ground. Branches of trees, mossy bluestones, and treetops. They surrounded a handsome young man with upturned eyes. Their eyes met from time to time, revealing fear, eagerness to try, and bloodthirstiness. In the hands of the young man, there was a short knife that was only a foot long. His figure looked tall and lonely in the moonlight. He faced the people who surrounded him, and his eyes flashed with calmness and determination. His upturned eyes made his already handsome face even more handsome, and the scarlet color in his eyes made the surrounding mist ninjas feel awe. Some people in the crowd were ready to move. Their eyes were warm and fierce, like a cheetah looking for an opportunity. Someone stood on a high place, taking advantage of the terrain to look down at the young man. There was a little contempt in their eyes, but more of it was fear. Some people hid in the shadows, only revealing a prying look. Their eyes flickered, but they also hid their desire for blood. Under the watery moonlight, their faces looked particularly gloomy and cold. Everyone's eyes were like a sharp knife, trying to cut the calmness and determination of the young man. Is this the instant body Shizui? It really lives up to its name. After carefully looking at the target, Manu, who had not taken action just now, squinted his eyes and revealed a hint of excitement in his tone. As the saying goes, an expert can tell the outcome as soon as he makes a move. Just now, in front of the team, Manu knew that he had met an opponent this time just by looking back. That kind of weird instant body technique, just thinking about it makes people tremble uncontrollably. Manu, don't be impulsive, Midorumi warned solemnly. This guy is too fast. If you are not careful, you may not even have the chance to use your ability. Even if the blood limit of the Hazuki clan can avoid physical damage, it will only be effective after he uses the water transformation technique. The opponent's sword is too fast, and he may kill you before you can successfully use your ability. Also, King had already treated his own wounds at this time, and also interjected, be careful of the opponent's illusion. The companion just now was hit by his illusion. Manu, Kaido, you lead the elite clansmen to fight the opponent, and the rest of you use ninjutsu to interfere on the periphery. Midorumi did not look into Shizui's eyes, and continued, King, you just follow behind me and pay attention to everyone's status at any time. If there is anything wrong, immediately warn. It was not until Shizui was surrounded that Midorumi's heart was half relieved. When she received this task, she also thought that this was the fourth-generation Mizukage who wanted to use Konoha's hand to bleed their bloodline families. It was the master's words' internal fighting that finally calmed her uneasy heart. At the same time, she also sighed that as long as it was an organization, there would be different factions, and internal fighting was inevitable. Even Konoha was the same. Byakugan ninja? Glancing at King, Shizui said calmly, maybe I shouldn't have let you go last time. He had dealt with the owner of the Byakugan before, and had the opportunity to keep him or kill him directly, but considering the requirements of the Hokage's mission and his relationship with the Mist Ninja, he did not do so. He didn't want to meet him again tonight, and it would be like this. With his illusion and instant body technique, the Byakugan ninja was the biggest threat to him and the entire Mist Ninja team. Why are you following the negotiation team? Shizui's Scarlet Sharingan swung left and right, observing the surrounding Mist Ninja. There was a hint of confusion in Shizui's tone, and he asked, your Mist Ninja peace envoy is right behind me. Why did so many elites sneak into the Land of Fire? Do you want to destroy the peace between Konoha and Mist Village? Peace talks. With a chuckle, Maingetsu Kizuki looked at Shizui opposite with some amusement, and said frivolously, it seems that this guy has not realized that he has been betrayed by the village. This opponent is very dangerous. Before the fight, a verbal persuasion may reduce the opponent's will to resist, so that the casualties on our side may be smaller. Instant body Shizui, this name is resounding throughout the ninja world. How did he come from? You, the person involved, must know it. The so-called peace talks, the condition is your life. What did you say? Hearing the other party's words, Shizui's face was full of disbelief. How could Hokage agree to such a thing? Shizui, who had always respected the Sandaime Hokage, did not believe the other party's nonsense at all. These were just small tricks used by the other party to shake his will. Opportunity. Although he said that the Sandaime could not do this, Shizui's heart was inevitably a little flustered. And this little fluster was well caught by the opposite side. Maingetsu, High Rain Flounder, release. The opportunity cannot be missed. Maingetsu did not hesitate at all, seized Shizui's flaw, and launched a sneak attack on the opponent's Shizui. Bang! As he injected a large amount of chakra, the double swords in his hands, the Hira Flounder, changed dramatically in size. As his chakra was input, the white bandages wrapped around the blades automatically fell off, turning into two huge, but strangely shaped hammers or awls, and smashed towards Shizui. TSK. Looking at Shizui, who was somewhat shocked that he was betrayed by the village, Meixiang said with disdain, "I didn't expect that this famous instant body Shizui would suddenly reveal a flaw because of such a piece of news. He is unexpectedly naive. If this happened to them, the Mist Ninja, and they were in the Blood family, wouldn't they explode on the spot? Isn't this too easy?" With the higher rain flounder in his hand, he smashed Shizui on the opposite side into a pulp with one knife. On Manyu's face, there was both excitement after seeing the blood and a trace of confusion. Fortunately, the figure of the opponent who was smashed into a pulp by him soon turned into black grouse. After making an annoying quack-quack sound, it quickly transformed into more than a dozen clones and wandered around his body. "Is this also a clone?" Waving the higher rain flounder in his hand again, smashing another clone into a flying crow. Manyu did not stop his actions, but locked his target on the other clone that showed a flaw. This must be the real body. There is still one chapter to be coded, and it feels a bit suspenseful. Chapter 417 Control. Under the pitch-black night, 3 red meteors slowly rose up. With long flame tails, people within a radius of dozens of kilometers could not ignore its existence. This is an emergency. After leaving the camp, Shizui had been hiding in the treetops, alert to any disturbances around him, and looked at the 3 red flares in the sky. He was confused for a moment. Then his face changed drastically. He came to the place where his companions were resting in a few moments, and shouted loudly to wake up his companions. "Ziasong, what happened?" Ishi, who was of ordinary build and plain appearance, was the first to get out of his sleeping bag. Seeing that, Ziasong, who was a little anxious and trying to wake up all his companions, asked in a calm tone, "Senior Ishi." Captain Shizui said to check the situation around, but just now at 6 o'clock, 3 red flares were raised 3 kilometers away. Seeing Ishi's calm face, Ziasong's emotions also stabilized a little. He explained to Captain Ishi what he had just seen, and raised his arm to point in the direction where the flares were rising. "Are you sure it's 3 red flares?" Hearing Komatsu's answer, Ishi's face, which was originally quite calm, immediately fell, and it looked as dark as ink in the deep night. After getting a positive answer, Captain Ishi did not give up, and set his sights on a long-haired young man in the team. "Rita, can you see it?" This young man named Rita had long hair and was dressed in a conventional way. He looked a little old-fashioned. The only special thing about him was that his eyes were a pair of pure white Byakugan. At this distance, "I'll try." Komatsu said that the flares were fired from 3 kilometers away, which was already at the edge of his Byakugan detection. However, since Shizui had fired 3 red flares, he had to do it even if it didn't work. Byakugan. As Hyuga began to make hand seals, all the Konoha ninjas around him held their breath and watched him silently. "There are a lot of chakra reactions over there. The captain is fighting the enemy. There are more than 30 people. How strong are the enemies?" As if this information was not enough, Ishi continued to ask Rita, urging him to see more clearly, and asked another question. "Who is the other party?" "I'll try." Looking at Captain Ishi's urging eyes and the gazes of his companions around him, Rita gritted his teeth and increased the input of chakra in his eyes. Because he was too strong, the blue veins around his eyes were jumping, as if they were about to burst at any time. The opponent's chakra reaction is very strong. They are all masters, and the worst has reached the level of a special jonin. There is even a woman whose chakra strength is comparable to Captain Shizui. Rita finally saw the specific situation in the field after his eyes were almost popping out of their sockets. But just this one glance almost made him unable to maintain his eyes. The strength of these enemies was really beyond people's expectations. As if because he was too strong, or because he was too shocked, Rita could not maintain the stable output of his chakra, and accidentally retreated from the state of Byakugan. The identity of the other party is the Mist Ninja. But the good news is that Rita, who has exerted his blood limit to the limit, finally saw the forehead protector worn by the enemy, Mist Ninja. Hearing Rita's words, Ishi looked back. Because of the unusual movement of himself and others, the Mist Ninja had gathered, and their eyes revealed a trace of regret and hatred. Everyone Retreat immediately. Now is not the time to regret. She understood very well what Shizui's firing of 3 red flares meant, and immediately gave the order. Don't worry about these mist ninja negotiation teams. According to the alarm level that Shizui and them had discussed in advance, 3 red flares meant that the mission was impossible to complete, and everyone should scatter and flee. Now the mist ninja negotiation team is still fine, but Shizui sent out such a signal, combined with a large number of mist ninja attackers. The answer is self-evident. Are you trying to notify your companions to escape? Seeing Shizui throw away the signal gun in his hand, Meixiang didn't care. Their mission target this time was Uchiha Shizui here. As for those ordinary ninjas of Konoha, it's not bad to treat the other party as a group of bargaining chips that can be used. Beta, take a pair of elite men, join Zhongnong, and then go to hunt down those Konoha ninjas. Since the other party is concerned about his companions, it's just right to use this opportunity to get this guy away from Manu. Yes, a petite woman with emerald green hair heard Meixiang's words. Without any hesitation, she took the 2 companions behind her, turned around, and walked towards the direction of the mist ninja negotiation team in the distance. King. Still no discovery? Arranging her men to hunt down the Konoha ninjas, Meixiang stared closely at the battle situation in the field. Her face was very bad. I'm so sorry. I didn't notice anything unusual. Manu, this idiot. He was so easily fooled by the illusion. Meixiang was so angry that she almost bit her silver teeth to pieces as she watched the center of the battlefield, wielding the double sword's higher aim and beating the Hazuki clan members into pieces of scattered water. This belligerent guy was the first to jump out and attack his opponent. With his first sword, he smashed a member of the Kaguya clan beside him into a meat pie. Then he showed his power and slaughtered the unprepared Miss Ninja. He killed 2 people in succession and seriously injured 3. If she hadn't commanded the Hazuki clan members to use the water transformation technique to entangle him, the casualties would have been even greater. What's more troublesome is that Shizui is right next to Manu. Those who want to go to remove the illusion for Manu are killed by the opponent's strange body flash technique. The current situation is that Manu, relying on his water transformation technique and the double sword's higher aim in his hands, is killing people in front. Uchiha Shizui, this guy, hid behind Manu, waiting for an opportunity to use the instant body technique, and defeated the mist ninjas at the scene. I will create an opportunity for you later. Can you remove the illusion on Manu? Looking at King beside her, Mei's tone was unfriendly, and her eyes also revealed a cold chill. This guy didn't even know that Manu had been under an illusion in advance. If he can't even remove the illusion, what's the use of him? Yes, I will definitely do my best. I will never let Lady Tormei down. King is very panicked now. He knows that if he can't even remove the illusion, then he is worthless. The mist ninjas have always been very cruel to their worthless companions. Chapter 418 Flathead. I won't let you succeed. Around Meigetsu Kizuki, there were more than a dozen Shizui clones. One of them looked up and saw the ninjas circling around him. Baita, who was heading towards the camp behind him, frowned and said firmly, how could the surrounding mist ninjas not see such a move that was different from the clones around him? However, none of them launched an attack rashly, because in the previous battles, they had been trapped by the opponent's similar plots several times. The 2 corpses at his feet were the best proof. This was the result of the protection of their companions, otherwise they would have left more corpses than the 2 on the ground. Of course, Meigetsu Kizuki's contribution was indispensable, so these mist ninjas looked at the ninjas of the Kizuki clan with very unfriendly eyes. The Kizuki clan members who were responsible for entanglement with their own genius felt a great deal of pressure. Uchiha Shizui, you want to save your companions. It's just wishful thinking. At this moment, a roar with some madness that made the nearby mist ninja's eyes twitch sounded. Take my move. Double flounder slash. In Meigetsu's perspective, he was wielding the higher aim flounder to chase Uchiha Shizui, but this guy actually wanted to leave him behind and run over to intercept those insignificant fry. How could he accept this? He had just become excited, and the blood in his body was boiling. Waves of almost fanatical fighting desires spread from his brain to his whole body. His body, which had already become a little trembling due to excitement, twitched uncontrollably. At this time how could he tolerate such contempt? Ah! With a continuous long moan, Meigetsu exerted force with both hands, each holding a strange-looking ninja sword. As his whole body's chakra boiled, the ninja sword in his hand did not become larger, but maintained its original size. But a thin and sharp sword energy spread from the blade of the higher-aim flounder. A sword energy with amazing power and a wide range of influence slashed towards Shizui, who had his back to him. Seeing the other party transformed into crows again, Manu did not stop the action in his hands. He stretched out his hands, raised the higher aim in his hands, and his figure began to spin slowly. However, the higher aim in his hands seemed to become abnormal due to the large amount of chakra injected. As a result, his spinning speed was not very fast. However, he had his own teammates around him, who helped him block the attack of the other party's clone. This idiot, seeing his body spinning faster and faster, and then the whole person seemed to be too heavy for the higher aim, and was carried into the air. When Manu fell towards the direction of Baitomo, Midorumi could no longer control her anger. Don't worry about Manu. If something happens and the Hazuki clan investigates, let them come to me. After saying this, Midorumi continued to remind, also, be careful of the opponent's illusion. Thinking about the opponent's illusion attainments, even King, who has the white eyes, was unaware before the opponent launched the illusion. Midorumi added helplessly, forget it, everyone should be careful of your teammates. Instead of guarding against the opponent's unfathomable illusion, she felt that it was more reliable to guard against sudden attacks from her teammates. Uchiha men are still as difficult as ever. She sighed in her heart. It is not without reason that Konoha would be afraid of Uchiha. Which village's leaders would not be afraid of such a bloody family with so many talents? Putting aside these, Terumi fluently formed a few seals with both hands. Water style, super water dragon bullet technique. Go to hell. Just when Meigetsu, with the help of rotation and the centrifugal force brought by high aim, jumped into the air, bringing up two light blue sword oars with a faint glow of chakra, ready to put an end to Uchiha Shizui and his annoying clones. A water dragon with a length of nearly 100 meters and an astonishingly huge body, faced his blade and swallowed Meigetsu in one bite. We're saved. Looking at Meigetsu, Baitao, and his subordinates who were swallowed by the water dragon bullet, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Meigetsu's terrifying slash just now fully exerted the power of higher aim flounder. Although they were also the elite of Karagakure, they still seemed a little powerless to resist the genius of the Meigetsu clan and the higher aim flounder in the opponent's hand. Be careful behind you. The threat of Meigetsu was just eliminated, and Baitao just breathed a sigh of relief, but suddenly her face changed drastically, and she reminded her companions, 5 o'clock, no, 7 o'clock. Kuramazu, right behind you. Baitao, a petite, curvy, and childlike beauty with a hint of pitiful temperament, is also a blood-stained ninja. However, unlike the bloodline limits of strong combat types such as Meigetsu and Kaguya, her blood gives her an unparalleled affinity with water attributes. Even the water molecules in the air are her eyes, with perception abilities far beyond ordinary people. Although Shizui's phantom clones and the instant body technique are secretive, she can always find the opponent's traces when Shizui's real body appears. Special perception ability. After praising his opponent, Shizui held the ninja sword in his hand without any hesitation, and did not show any sympathy for the opponent just because the opponent was a pitiful and cute girl. Could it be? The bloodline of the Zayanshui family will be cut off in my hands? Looking at the ninja sword getting closer and closer to her throat, Zayanshui Peach, the last descendant of the Zayanshui clan, was unwilling to end her life. Excellent water instant body. Looking at the red on the tip of his sword, Shizui's eyes turned to a small puddle about 10 meters away from his side. Just a little bit relying on the last bit of unwillingness in his heart, he performed the water instant body at a speed he had never had before. Zayanshui Peach, with only a head of green hair and a pale face showing from the puddle, touched the wound on her neck and felt the warmth in her hand. Her face wrinkled into a ball. Although they both had the same bloodline limit, her affinity for water attribute was too different from Uchiha's Sharingan. The other party could even see through her body flickering technique through these eyes, and even more accurately aimed at her neck in this high-speed world, and she could only rely on instinct to dodge the ninja sword in the other party's hand. Swish, swish, swish. Fortunately, at this time, a large group of Miss Ninjas arrived at the scene and surrounded the other party. Otherwise, she felt that she would soon become a gradually cold corpse like Hishui and another companion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419 Awakening. How can this ninjutsu trap me? On the other side, in the mouth of a huge water dragon, Meixiang didn't care about the attack he received. As a ninja of the Meixiang clan, water is their best friend. Sizzled, the sword energy on the high rain flounder in his hand burst out, and with a few consecutive slashes, he cut the water dragon that tried to trap him into several pieces. Meixiang was just about to chase Sakaya Shizui, the water dragons that he had just cut off, while turning into scattered water splashes, underwent another change. A light green color suddenly emerged from these water splashes, and then, as if controlled by the enemy, these water splashes turned into a huge water ball and wrapped around him. Water transformation technique. This kind of water escape is not a big threat to him at all. He only needs to transform into one of them, and the opponent's attack will be broken. It's just this green water escape technique seems familiar. He seems to have seen it somewhere. Even the brain is controlled by the other party? Looking at Meixiang who dived into the water ball, Taramimi murmured silently. The seal in her hand changed, and the light green color in the water ball began to turn dark green. Please, Tarami Jonin, show mercy. Seeing such a deep green color, among the ninjas of the Hazuki clan who were originally surrounding Meixiang, a middle-aged man who was a bit older, his eyes twitched uncontrollably. He knew this ninjutsu. It was an acid ninjutsu in the boiling escape technique, which was very corrosive. It was okay if it was light green, but if it reached dark green, Meixiang, the idiot, would perform the water transformation technique in this ninjutsu. If this woman was merciless, she might really turn into a pool of liquid. It's just acid. Don't worry, with this guy's vitality, he won't die. After answering the Hazuki clan member, Taramimi kept performing the seal in her hand, as if she was performing another ninjutsu. The middle-aged man of the Ghost Lantern clan who got the words "I can't die" dared to be angry but didn't dare to speak. There was no way. The other party's background was really strong, as the jewel in the crown of the two major bloodstained families, under the premise of having a legitimate excuse. Even if Manu was killed, the family would be very dissatisfied, but there was nothing they could do to the other party. It hurts, it hurts. Just when the Ghost Lantern clan was about to lose face again and begged Taramimi to be gentle and not to destroy their genius to the point of leaving nothing behind, a series of cries of pain came out with a splash of water. It was Manu of the Ghost Lantern clan, whose whole body was corroded and bloody, who used the flat eye flounder in his hand to pierce the green water ball and escaped. It's not that simple. Seeing Manu of the Ghost Lantern escape, Taramimi didn't have any strange expression. She stood still, changed the seal in her hand, and controlled the water ball mixed with a large amount of acid to turn into a huge water snake, which rotated and entangled to form a water wall more than 20 meters high, encircling Manu. After completing all this, Tarami did not rush to attack, but shouted at Manu who was trapped in the middle of the giant water wall. "Manu, you idiot, haven't you woken up yet?" The other party's body was corroded by acid and bleeding. Such a huge pain should help this guy struggle out of the illusion. Bang bang bang. It's a pity that what answered him was not Manu's words, but the loud noise of giant blades slashing on the high-speed flowing water. Is this bastard's illusion so difficult to break free? Seeing this, Tarami couldn't help but look back at the battle situation on Shizui's side. This look almost made her angry to death. This group of guys, a total of more than 20 people, surrounded Shizui in the middle, but the advantage in numbers did not give them any comfort. Instead, They became a little timid, and their eyes looking at their companions behind them also became uncertain. Then he lowered his gaze to the bodies lying on the ground. They were lying prone one by one. From the messy wounds on their backs, it was not difficult to tell that they were attacked from behind. "We can't delay any longer." After saying this, Mei shouted, "King, get ready." As soon as she finished speaking, she stood in place and manipulated the water wall, changing the seal in her hand. A huge snake head suddenly emerged from the high-speed rotating water wall that originally trapped Manzuki Hazuki. Without saying anything, it rushed towards Manzuki. "Come on!" At this time, Manzuki Hazuki's face was covered with blood. Coupled with his ferocious look of waving the knife, people would believe that he was an evil ghost crawling out of hell. Bang! A knife slashed on the snake head, and a huge splash of water exploded. But how could the ninjutsu that Mei specially prepared for him be chopped into pieces so easily? Although the snake head had turned into flying water, the snake body did not lose control. It rushed towards Manzuki with a huge force. If it was a normal water attribute attack, Manu would have already transformed into one of them, making the opponent's ninjutsu futile. Although he was controlled by Shizui's illusion, his instinct still prevented him from continuing to perform the water transformation technique. With a trace of unwillingness, Manu let out a shrill howl, and was washed away by the oncoming water. At the same time, the corrosive acid in the water also made him suffer. Now, seeing that Manu was finally washed away by the water, she controlled and lost her balance. Mei opened her mouth and shouted. King, who had been prepared for a long time, did not care about the injuries on his body, burst out at his fastest speed, and instantly came to Manu's side. Illusion middle dot release, putting one hand on Manu's shoulder. King did not stop after trying to remove the illusion for Manu. Seal middle dot true water seal. King had no way to discover Shizui's illusion, and had no confidence that just disrupting the chakra could help Manu regain consciousness. In order to prevent any accidents, before Manu could react, he sealed his chakra. Bang! Seeing Manu still looking confused, Mei was not polite at all and punched Manu in the face. "Are you awake?" At this time, Manu had no way to use chakra, let alone enter the water state. He had just escaped from the illusion and had not figured out his current state. A delicate fist hit him on the head. "It seems that you are not awake yet." Mei did not have time to waste time with Manu. Seeing that the other party was still confused, she raised her hand and prepared to punch him again. "Big sister, why did you hit me?" Mei punched Manu, causing his nose to bleed. Before Manu could complain, the other party was ready to punch him again and repeatedly stopped him. In a hurry, even the childhood nickname jumped out of her mouth. "It seems that he is really awake." After looking at Manu, Mei said to King beside her, "Check him carefully again, then release the seal on him and let him go to deal with Uchiha Shizui." If it weren't for the need to rely on the opponent's combat power, Mei would not have had the time to care whether Manu had recovered or not, and would have already rushed to the dangerous battlefield nearby. Chapter 420 Acid Mist. Has the illusion been resolved? Shizui, who was struggling with the surrounding mist ninjas, was the first to sense that the illusion he had used to control Manzuki Hazuki was resolved. However, he was not too surprised. After all, the opponent was the elite of the Hidden Mist Village, and it was very rare to be able to delay for such a long time. "We have to buy more time." With Shizui's speed, although these mist ninjas were strong, if he wanted to leave, the other party would not be able to stop him at all. The reason why he stayed here and entangled with the mist ninjas was just to delay the pace of these mist ninjas and buy time for his companions to evacuate. The signal has been sent. With the speed of Uchiha and Komatsu, as long as he holds on for another 10 minutes, they should be safe. "You retreat first." Just when Shizui was about to entangle with this group of mist ninjas for a while, and then withdraw, a clear and magnetic female voice sounded, and then Mei, who was wearing a blue long skirt and long hair to her waist, came to this battlefield. In a few steps, behind him, there was Manu, who looked doubtful about life, and King, who looked serious. "I hate Uchiha men more and more." Whether it was this Uchiha Shizui or the Uchiha Toshiro he met before, They were all equally difficult to deal with. You block the surroundings, and then I, Manu, Kaido, and a few others will take the lead in the attack. After naming 5 or 6 people, Midorumi continued, don't be anxious, take it step by step. The opponent has only one person. We can wear him out even if we just waste time. With the advantage of numbers on their side, there was no need to fight the opponent desperately. Picking out a few outstanding ones and fighting a round-robin battle with the opponent would be enough to wear the opponent out. It's a pity for such a handsome guy. It's really a bit of a waste. Yes. After receiving Midorumi's order, most of the mist ninjas who surrounded Shizui felt relieved. It's better to let these big guys deal with such a weird and difficult enemy. It's better for them, the ordinary people, to honestly act as tools. Midorumi, looking at this outstanding woman, Shizui's eyes did not have any admiration, and his expression became more solemn than ever before. He knew this person, with double bloodstains, was not comparable to ordinary ninjas. If he fought with her, he might not be able to return to Konoha. Boiling release, gold erosion and bone destruction. As soon as she used boiling release, gold erosion and bone destruction, Midorumi let Shizui know how difficult the opponent was. Layers of emerald green fog, which was very similar to the mist hidden technique, were spit out from the opponent's rosy little mouth. Soon, it enveloped the surroundings. This is, looking at his phantom clone, Shizui frowned. Acid fog. Looking at his clone, which became blurred because of the emerald green fog, Shizui knew that this was the opponent's means to limit his instant body technique. With the corrosion of these acid fogs, his phantom clone's ability to confuse the enemy has almost been lost. At the same time, he also felt that in just a few short breaths, his phantom clone was on the verge of collapse. With the corrosion of these acid mists, it won't take long for them to be removed and turned into a ball of chakra again. Not only that, he felt a burning sensation on his exposed skin. Shizui knew that even if he covered the surface of his skin with chakra, it would not last long. He would still be corroded by these acid mists. Wind style, typhoon passes. Shizui made a seal with his hands and directly performed this large-scale wind style ninjutsu, trying to blow away the acid mist. Fighting in this acid mist, he not only had to face the enemy's attacks, but also had to constantly stimulate his chakra to resist these acid mists. In addition, the power of the instant body technique was greatly reduced. This was too disadvantageous for him. It's not that simple. After a gust of wind, Shizui wisely didn't continue to waste chakra when looking at this wind-style ninjutsu with little effect. The opponent obviously added boiling style to the mist-hidden art. This was a blood limit version of the ninjutsu, which was obviously not something that could be dispelled by a single wind-style ninjutsu. Mainjutsu. Kaido, let's go. The rest of you, be alert and prevent the target from escaping. After saying this, Midorumi took a step forward and stepped into the blurry acid mist. And Hazuki Mainjutsu, looking at the green mist in front of him, couldn't help but twitch his mouth. He faintly felt the burning pain on his skin again. The acid that Midorumi added to the water just now was not very strong. It only corroded part of his epidermis. After being washed by the water escape, it was restored to its original appearance. However, looking at this acid mist, he seemed to be able to feel that his body was being corroded inch by inch. It wouldn't be completely disfigured. His current situation can still be saved by medical ninjutsu, but if he stays in this acid mist for a long time, it's hard to say. However, when he thought about how he was manipulated by this guy and there to kill many of his companions, a surge of rage rushed into his brain. Then he also rushed into the acid mist. It seems that's the only way. Looking at Midorumi, who was walking through the unbridled acid mist, the power of his phantom instant was greatly reduced. If he wanted to continue to delay time, he had no choice but to do so. Touching his eye sockets, Shizui felt helpless. If possible, he didn't want to use the Meixiang to fight. Such consumption was too great. Just when Midorumi cast the acid mist, a space ripple spread not far from their battlefield. A Bido, with long hair, black robe and a striped mask on his head, appeared in the crown of a big tree. With the cover of the tree, he quietly paid attention to the battle in the field. As for Ao, This guy was now concentrating on the battle in the acid mist, so how could he have the extra energy to take care of the situation around him? The battle is very intense. Wherever Obito is, there will always be white Zetsu. As for Black Zetsu, this guy is in the Hidden Mist Village, controlling the 4th Mizukage. It doesn't matter. It would be best if these guys and Shizui died together. That would be the best. Obito had no mercy on these mist ninjas. This time, he took over Shizui's hand and cleaned up a few troublemakers in the Hidden Mist Village. Are you really going to hand over Shizui's eyes to that gloomy guy? It's just a pair of ordinary Sharingan. Although it's a good pair of eyes, it doesn't matter. I won't be short of such consumables later. Obito didn't know much about Shizui's eyes. And in his opinion, although the other party's eyes are precious, they are not worth mentioning compared to Uchiha Toshiro's Meixiang. P.S. The editor told me to give a weather vane, recommended, on the 21st, so that I can save some manuscripts, and update 3 times in the next few days, make up for it when the time comes, and try to update more. Chapter 421 In person, Master Danzo, the Sensing Team, Interception Team, Hunting Team, are already in the dark night, in a primitive and mysterious forest. At this time, a team of more than 200 people moved quietly. They were divided into several teams, each wearing a hood and an animal mask, covering their faces, revealing only cold eyes. Stepping over the fallen leaves and dead branches, they shuttled silently in the forest. The night wind shuttled between the leaves, blowing their clothes and hoods, like ghosts in the dark, quiet and weird. The steps were precise and powerful, as if they were walking synchronously like machines, making the whole team look even colder and more murderous. They were a well-trained team, and every member had experienced countless battles and hardships. Follow the team in front. After receiving the report from his subordinates, Danzo's expression was very calm, and even the pace of his feet did not change at all, still the original unhurried. Yes, after listening to the report from his subordinates, Danzo turned his eyes to the other ninjas around him and asked at the same time, has there been any news about the battle in the Mist Ninja? Tonight's operation was related to a pair of Meixiang Sharingan. He was worried about his subordinates, so he came to command them in person. He was not worried that these people would do something bad or hide the Meixiang, but he was worried that they would not be able to keep these precious eyes from the hands of Uchiha Madara. He didn't think so. After learning about the Meixiang, the other party would abide by the agreement with him before. According to the report from the communications squad, there is still a fierce battle over there. Uchiha Shizui stayed alone to hold back the elite Mist Ninja troops. This is expected. Danzo was not surprised at all that Shizui stayed to snipe the enemy and let his teammates escape. As the person who is most hostile to Uchiha in Konoha now, he is very clear about the style of these Uchiha. They always rely on their own strength and like to solve all problems by themselves. Just like this time, Shizui has been surrounded by them. I'm worried about him. Don't worry. With the Meixiang, these Mist Ninjas can't trap him at all. His subordinates were still too young and didn't know the power of the Meixiang. It was just a bunch of Mist Ninjas who came ashore, and Shizui couldn't trap them at all. There are also Mist Ninja negotiation troops, rushing to the battlefield where they are. Seeing that the boss was not worried about Shizui's safety, the eagle-faced masked subordinate continued to report. Don't worry about them. If these people are not dead after the incident, just kill them. A bunch of small fish, whether they were killed after the incident or thrown into the laboratory as consumables, it didn't matter. It was not worth his worry at all. Followed the Konoha team in front. We can just wait behind them. Shizui's teammates just died, and now these teammates are all his acquaintances. Shizui will not only delay the elite troops of the Mist Ninjas, but will also reunite with these people after the incident. All of this is within his calculations. Arrange the personnel. After Shizui breaks through, keep an eye on the elite troops of the Mist Ninja. Since these Mist Ninjas have come to the Land of Fire, he does not intend to let them leave alive. As for whether Uchiha Madara would have any objections, the two sides are not firm allies. They are just using each other. There is no need to worry about these things. Should we first prioritize them? A subordinate wearing a dog-faced mask seemed a little hesitant. I'm worried that this will distract our attention and we will end up with nothing. The entire root elite is out for this mission. If something goes wrong in the middle of the mission because of taking care of these mist ninjas, after returning, all of them who participated in the mission will suffer. It's not a big problem. Those mist ninjas will not give up the mission easily. They will definitely chase after Shizui. The cane in his hand paused. Danzo knew the behavior of the mist ninjas and they would not give up their goals easily. However, he also believed that Shizui, who had awakened the Meixiang, would also have a way to get rid of these people. Let's deal with Shizui first, and then we'll go after the mist ninjas. Things still have to be prioritized. Compared to the Meixiang in Shizui's eyes, a few mist ninjas are nothing. What he's worried about now is that Takaya Madara. If the other party knows the secret in Shizui's eyes, will he snatch the pair of Meixiang from him? This is also one of the reasons why he brought so many people with him. Hanging far behind Ishii and his team, Danzo received the intelligence summarized by his subordinates while thinking about the next action plan. Just one Uchiha Shizui can't satisfy his appetite at all. With the Meixiang in the other party's eyes, he has the capital to move the Uchiha clan. At that time, he will have a large number of Sharingans in his hands for him to squander. With Izanagi, is there anything he can't do? Is this the power of Uchiha? In a green mist, Midorami's eyes widened and looked carefully at the circle of chakra skeleton on Shizui's body opposite him. It was this thing that caught them off guard. If they hadn't used ninjutsu to block it in time, the companion beside them would have become a corpse. It's really an offensive and defensive trump card. Looking at the bones that wrapped the opponent's body, recalling the skeleton arm that the opponent had just materialized, it was not only able to defend against his acid mist, but also had good strength, speed, and attack power. This is also because your acid mist is too difficult to deal with. If I don't use this pupil technique, I can't fight you for a long time. These acid mists are too difficult to deal with. The chakra on the surface of the body alone can't resist for long. And my eyes, if exposed to this acid mist for a long time, are likely to be directly disabled. Pupil technique, controlling a stream of water to send the companion out of the range of the acid mist. Taramimi continued, even if you use your trump card, I won't let you escape. You'd better give up this idea. The injured companion simply couldn't continue to persist in this acid mist, but she had many teammates. When one companion was missing, someone immediately filled his position. It seems you won't let me leave here unless I show some real skills. Looking at the acid mist around him and feeling the consumption of his pupil power, Shizui felt that he had to do something big, otherwise, he would not be able to get rid of this woman and the surrounding of the mist ninja outside. Chapter 422, Differences. Everyone, be alert. King, who was observing the battle with his white eyes next to a green mist with a diameter of nearly 100 meters, suddenly warned. He seemed to have seen something, and his face, which had turned pale due to blood loss, was faintly blue. All the mist ninjas present stared at the mist in front of them more cautiously. Here it comes. Suddenly, King, who was concentrating on the battle, shouted loudly, reminding his companions to be careful. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, a large area of emerald green, a physical attack formed by the gathering of chakra, was like a flying rainstorm. It instantly enveloped King and the mist ninjas around him. Before he and his companions could recover from this round of intensive attacks, the green acid mist in front of them seemed to be disturbed by something and began to roll violently. Then, boom! A deafening muffled sound and the trembling of the earth continued to come, followed by several embarrassed mist ninjas flying out of the mist. Mainjutsu, Kaido, the two of you go and support Midorami. Bring more people. Just after landing, a shaky mist ninja, without even looking at the mist ninjas around him whose faces changed drastically, cast his eyes on Mainjutsu Hazuki and Kaito Kaguya, who came out to take a breath. His tone was anxious, and his expression was unprecedentedly solemn. Damn it! Seeing this scene, Mainjutsu and Kaito looked at each other, and rushed into the thick fog with their clansmen behind them. The thick fog created by Midorami would not recognize people, but at this point, it goes without saying that the situation inside is extremely critical. There was no time to care about so much. What is this? Stepping into the range of the fog, Mainjutsu, who had just wrapped his skin with chakra and had blood stains on his face, saw a huge figure that was vaguely visible. Before he could take a closer look, a huge, charred black stone with a length and width of nearly 3 meters fell on his head. Boom! The ground shook, and then there was a splash of water. Damn it! Without having time to complain about the acid mist of the big sister, Man Yu saw the culprit who caused all this while enduring the discomfort in his body. A chakra giant with a body of more than 20 meters tall and holding a spiral sword in his hand was standing in the middle of the mist. Their target, Uchiha Shizui, stood in the middle, covering his eyes with one hand and breathing heavily. It's almost time. It's time to prepare to break out. Boom! Controlling Susanoo, he slapped away a stream of magma that was attacking him with one palm. The green giant did not stop, and swept the long sword across, sweeping away all the magma that was piled up around him and slowly solidifying. Big sister, remove the acid mist. Seeing Shizui controlling the giant and clearing the shackles around him, Man Yu shouted at Rumi Mai, who was also panting, "You assist me." After saying that, he said to a fellow tribesman with blue and white hair beside him, "Xianzi, you follow me and wrap me with the water transformation technique." Before the acid mist around him dispersed, Man Yu couldn't wait to tell the tribesmen behind him, and then the whole person turned into a pool of crystal clear water. Enduring the corrosion of the acid mist around him, the volume of the pool of water began to slowly increase. Behind Man Yu, the few members of the Kizuna tribe who heard his call did not hesitate to see this. One by one, they turned their chakra into water and merged into Man Yu's ninjutsu. Yasaka Magatama, seeing that Man Yu seemed to be about to use some big moves, Shizui naturally would not be so arrogant as to ignore the opponent's ninjutsu. Susanoo stretched out his free arm and spread his palm. With his chakra and pupil power output, 3 emerald green Magatama quickly took shape and then spun rapidly. Go! Oh no, it's too late. Meixiang, who was making hand seals to disperse the acid mist around her to make room for Man Yu, knew that the opponent was preparing an attack when she saw the Magatama in Susanoo's hand taking shape. But knowing is one thing, and whether or not she had time to resist is another. Because the opponent's ninjutsu took shape too quickly, she could only watch a stream of emerald green light cut through the air and attacked Man Yu with a terrifying whimper. Corpse vein, white pile technique. At the critical moment, Kaguya Kaido, who had been playing a supporting role, finally played his role. Together with several tribesmen behind him, he stood in front of Man Yu, raised his hands high, and then slammed them heavily on the ground. As he and his tribesmen surged with chakra in their hands, a white bone spur rose from the ground in front of them. Then, a large number of white bone spurs broke out of the ground in front of them, only about 20 meters in radius, and piled up densely, forming a barrier of about 20 meters high, all made of white bones. Bang! Snap! As the Yasaka Magatama and the bone barrier collided, a burst of dense bone-breaking sounds came, followed by a large number of white broken bones flying everywhere. Blocked. Looking at the completely destroyed white bone forest in front of him, even the warlike Kaguya Kaito and his clansmen felt exhausted at this time. This is really violent. Just now, they almost used the blood-stained secret technique that they worked together to break through the opponent. This is something that has never happened before. Leave it to me next. In a chakra water ball that is more than 20 meters in size and is almost as tall as Shizui's Susanoo, Maingetsu Kizuki, who is almost naked, is assisted by his own clansmen. In this situation where there is no advantage in the terrain, he performed the water escape middle Statari hat, and as the chakra of his clansmen behind him continues to be injected, the size of this ninjutsu will continue to increase. It's a bit troublesome. Looking at the thorn ball made of water and chakra less than 40 meters away from him, Shizui rubbed his eyes with a headache. This is obviously a ninjutsu that can fight with Susanoo. Fortunately, there is no large water source where they fight, otherwise it would be more difficult for him to defeat the opponent. This is the genius of the Kizuna clan, and Shizui who can flash. As Midorumi put away the acid mist, the mist ninjas on the periphery who were responsible for preventing Shizui from escaping finally saw the details of the battle inside. It's just looking at the two behemoths controlled by Shizui and Man Yu, These ordinary blood ninjas fully felt the disparity of life, compared with geniuses like them. What is the difference between them and ordinary people? Chapter 423, Tundra Hat. Everyone, use water ninjutsu. Although man-use ninjutsu is powerful, this is not on the sea, nor in a lake or river. If the opponent uses this ninjutsu on land, it will consume a lot of energy if there is no companion to use water ninjutsu to create conditions for him. Water ninjutsu? Exploding water wave. He performed a large-scale water ninjutsu, covering the surrounding ground with a layer of water. Meixiang did not have time to see the effect of the ninjutsu. He ordered King beside him, "King, you have the Byakugan. Observe the opponent's every move at any time. Take a team of elite people and prepare to intercept the opponent." He was about to tell King to be careful of the opponent's illusion, but the battle between Manu and Shizui attracted his attention. "Boy, this time I must let you know how powerful I am." With the help of Meixiang and his companions, Manu can be said to be like a fish in water. He feels that even if he is facing the tailed beast now, he can fight with the opponent for a few rounds. It seems the fourth generation is not so scary. Boom! The spiral sword smashed down, bringing up a large amount of splashing water. Shizui looked at Manu, who was constantly entangled with him, and frowned deeply. Is it not just Susanoo, but even Kotoa Mitsukami is going to use it? With his nature, he was somewhat resistant to using pupil techniques to change other people's minds, which made him feel an inexplicable sense of evil. But the current situation, why don't you continue to use your illusion? Manu was very confident now. Although the opponent's huge chakra giant was extremely powerful, his ninjutsu was not bad either. The only trouble was the opponent's illusion. However, he was not a real fool. Although he was shouting loudly, he was also panicking in his heart. Although he was now carefully guarded and with the help of his companions, there was a high probability that he would not be hit by the opponent's illusion again. But what if he was hit by the opponent's illusion in this state? It would be really embarrassing. Sizzled. The spikes on the surface of the water ball stretched out, knocking the chakra of the emerald green chakra giant into pieces. Manu controlled the huge chakra water ball, opened a big mouth full of fangs and bit at the opponent. Bang! The spiral sword swept across, repelling the opponent's attack again. Shizui looked at Manu with his eyes lowered in the water ball and made up his mind. Abito, is this the eye technique unique to the Meixiang Sharingan? Susanoo, White Zetsu, who was also spying on the side, tilted his head and asked, "It's the same Meixiang. Why haven't I seen you use it before?" Shut up. Abito was in no mood to talk nonsense with White Zetsu at this time. Looking at the emerald green giant in the field, his face under the mask became unusually heavy. Danzo, this bastard, must know that Shizui opened the Meixiang. Otherwise he wouldn't have to kill him. No wonder the premise for the other party to cooperate with him to deal with Uchiha was to kill Uchiha Shizui. He was a little surprised at first. The other party ignored the big trouble of Uchiha Toshiro and actually grabbed Shizui. It was really putting the cart before the horse. It seems that the other party has known about Shizui's situation for a long time. Abito, Shizui has opened the Meixiang. Do we still have to hand over his eyes to Danzo as a tool? White Zetsu ignored Abito's indifference and asked what he planned to do with Shizui's eyes. Also, these mist ninjas may not be able to stop him. Do you plan to do it yourself? Explore the surrounding situation and see if there are any spies of Danzo around. He did not answer White Zetsu's question. Abito knew that since Danzo knew that Shizui had opened the Meixiang, he would not put his hope on these mist ninjas. He must have a backup plan. Really, I was planning to enjoy the battle of the Meixiang. White Zetsu complained a little about Abito's request. He had never seen the Meixiang eye technique of Susanoo. It was not easy to see it once. He was actually sent out to scout the surrounding situation. Although he complained, White Zetsu still cooperated very well and sank into the ground and began to look for possible Danzo's men. Abito, watching the Susanoo fighting with Meigetsu Tatori in the field, became more determined to destroy the Uchiha clan. This clan was too dangerous. He didn't know when and who would suddenly be stimulated and awaken the Meixiang. This was too bad for his plan. Facing Meigetsu's somewhat crazy attack, Shizui had no other choice. Once they started to fight hard with this kind of large-scale ninjutsu, it would test the ninjutsu attainments, chakra, and will of both sides. The green chakra longsword blocked the opponent's attack. The giant's free arm retracted and then swung forward. A green light rain, like a sudden burst of rain, with a dazzling light, smashed the surface of the opposite thorn ball into splashes of varying depths, forcing the opponent to retreat. Then, the spiral longsword in his hand pointed forward, with the tip of the sword aimed at the huge water ball on the opposite side, or the Hazuki Mainjutsu in the water ball. The chakra giant's right hand holding the sword retreated, accumulated power, then burst out and thrust forward. The set of movements was smooth and flowing, without the slightest delay. As the pupil power in Shizui's eyes burst out, a beam of emerald light, along with Shizui's sword, crossed the distance between the two sides and thrust straight forward. Don't underestimate the blood of the ghost light. Although it was too late to stop the opponent's accumulated power attack, Manu still predicted the opponent's attack. With a roar, he gathered all his spiritual power, controlled its Tatori hat, and materialized a spike made entirely of water in front of him, confronting the opponent's attack head-on. Boom! Splash! Water splashed everywhere. After a loud noise, the white water splashed, blocking the vision of everyone in the field. Watch out! The opponent is trying to break through. The real body is coming in my direction. King, who has white eyes, was not blocked by these flying water splashes. He saw it very clearly. The emerald green chakra giant wielded the spiral sword in his hand, and with one sword, he used Manu's ninjutsu to create a hole with a diameter of nearly 3 meters, which penetrated from front to back. Then it dissipated and disappeared without a trace. But his Byakugan clearly saw that after the green chakra dissipated, a black figure rushed towards him under the cover of the exploding water. Are you planning to kill me before you leave? Looking at Shizui, who was coming towards him, King knew very well that if the other party wanted to break through, he would be his biggest obstacle. Otherwise, with the Byakugan tracking him, it would be extremely difficult for Shizui to escape successfully. Chapter 424, Am I the one who is under the illusion? Manu, what are you doing? In the center of the battlefield, Manu's Tatori hat did not fall apart because of Shizui's terrifying piercing just now. But at this time, there was no movement at all, just standing motionless in the water. Let the huge piercing wound in the center of his ninjutsu be ignored. Are you hit by the opponent's illusion? Katanko, a 16-year-old girl from the Kitten clan, has long blue-white hair, sweet looks, slender figure, and a little temperament of a girl next door. Of course, this is when she doesn't speak. Once she opens her mouth, the sharp fangs in her mouth make her sweet temperament disappear. But at this time, she had to speak. After the attack just now, she only saw a flash of scarlet light, and then Manu, this guy, floated motionless in the water. As for Uchiha Shizui's retreat, he simply turned a blind eye. Release. Although I know that the chakra reaction of the opponent is very normal, it doesn't look like he has been hit by the opponent's illusion. However, Hazuki Genko still tried to disrupt Manu's chakra, wanting to see if this could restore him to normal. Genko, I shouldn't be under the illusion. Looking at Genko's actions, Manu frowned and felt something was wrong. She seemed to have changed. Instinctively, Manu felt that something was wrong with her, as if she was no longer the same person as before. That's good. Seeing Manu finally come back to her senses, Genko breathed a sigh of relief and continued, since nothing is wrong, go chase Uchiha Shizui. If you don't go, he will probably run away. Don't worry about that. Manu looked back in the direction of Shizui, then turned her head and said, compared to this, Genko, I think you are so beautiful today. Genko, who was full of questions about Hazuki Manu's brain circuit, felt a little confused at this time and asked involuntarily, what did you just say? Could it be that it was not Manu who was under the illusion, but herself? A deep feeling of doubt emerged from the mind of Katanko, and then this idea was confirmed by herself. Manu, this idiot, his mind is only about training, ninja swords, and fighting. How could he say such a thing? Well, I must be the one who was caught in the illusion. I am now hallucinating. The one at 1 o'clock is the real body. Now the position has changed. Asakusa, the one in front of you is the real body. At this time, King looked at Uchiha Shizui who was rushing towards him, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. Uchiha Shizui's speed was too fast. He was in front of him just now, but now he has reached Asakusa. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared again. King, step back and show me Shizui's position. I will deal with him. Just when King's cold sweat soaked his inner armor, a magnetic female voice came into his ears. Tsurumimai rushed to King's side. Following closely behind her was a large number of mist ninjas. Yes, King was overjoyed that he didn't have to face Uchiha Shizui's terrifying instant body technique. He jumped several times and left the battle circle. From the periphery, he used his Byakugan to closely watch Uchiha Shizui's every move. Idiot. Obito, who was standing in the distance and quietly observing the battle in the field, saw Tsurumimai and others who were entangled with Shizui's phantom clone. Then he moved his eyes to the distant Mainjutsu and King who were staring at Shizui. Shizui's pupil technique seems to be related to illusion. After guessing, Obito continued, no, it shouldn't be a simple illusion-based pupil technique, otherwise Mainjutsu and King wouldn't become so strange. After saying this, Obito disappeared from the spot with a ripple, and the only ones left at the scene were those mist ninjas who were entangled with the phantom clones. After a long time, you mean, you also used illusion? Looking at King in front of him, who was lowering his head and couldn't say a word, the veins on Tsurumimai's forehead jumped. Anyone who encounters her in this situation will be furious. After a lot of effort, she broke Uchiha Shizui's clone, but the place was empty. Nothing. There was also Uchiha Shizui's figure there. And the one who caused all this was King, who was in front of her, bowing his head and not saying a word. It was this guy who kept saying that Shizui's real body was coming towards him, behind someone. He attracted everyone's attention to him, and they trusted the Byakugan too much. Subordinates. King felt that he was really going to die this time. Not to mention Tsurumimai. Even the surrounding mist ninjas looked at him as if they were holding a sharp kunai. They probably wanted to kill him to vent their anger. The opponent should have made you fall into the illusion when they attacked you at the beginning, but only when they broke through did they use this to confuse you. His face was ugly. But Tsurumimai did not blame King. He had tried his best. It was the enemy's illusion method that was too clever to make King, who had the Byakugan, fall into the illusion. This is really unexpected. I am ashamed. I will follow behind Bitu and provide her with assistance. Midorumi set her sights on Bitu, and then said in a faint tone, if we don't catch up with Uchiha Shizui, since Shizui has escaped, we should continue to chase him, but this time we can't let King lead the way, just let him be a deputy. In fact, if the situation allows, she doesn't even want to use saltwater Bitu, but in the current situation, there is no one more suitable than her. What's the situation with Manu after solving King's problem? Midorumi turned her head and asked the Hazuki clan member next to her who asked him to be gentle with Manu. He, opening his mouth. The elderly Hazuki clan member didn't know how to start for a moment. The genius of their family was originally obsessed with fighting, training, and ninja swords, and they were worried that he would not open up to the affairs of men and women and didn't know how to expand the family. Now he is open up, but it's a bit inappropriate. And is this guy's current behavior affected by the illusion? When the effect of the illusion disappears, he will return to his original appearance. This is really looking at the full moon chasing after a girl in the distance. Midorumi has no confidence that she can successfully complete the mission this time. Beta, did you find anything? Now is not the time to worry about these things. Let's see if Saltwater Beta can track down Shizui's trail. They have to continue to carry out the mission. Chapter 425, Support. Under the watery moonlight, a swift figure flashed through the dark primeval forest. It was Uchiha Shizui who had just broken through. I hope those misleading traces and shadow clones can buy more time. Shizui jumped carefully in the forest. Although his speed was very fast, he did not leave any obvious traces. He was a tracking master and also had profound attainments in anti-tracking. Who is in front? Running at high speed in the forest, he He was left behind with the giant trees that several people could hug. Just when Shizui was not far from his companions, several ninjas dressed as Konoha Anbu in front of him slowly approached him. "Who are you?" Shizui was still on the battlefield. He did not approach rashly because of the decorations on the other party, but kept a safe distance from the other party. "Uchiha Shizui, we are the Anbu sent by the Hokage to secretly assist you in completing this escort mission." As he spoke, the Anbu also made a few gestures to Shizui. "I saw that you abandoned the Mist Ninja negotiation team, so I came to check the situation." Understood. He knew that the Hokage would send the Anbu to secretly assist him in completing this mission, but the words of the Mist Ninja just now still made him a little defensive in his heart. However, his face was still calm. "Can you explain why you abandoned the escort of the Mist Ninja negotiators?" Seeing that Shizui was still a little defensive against him and others, the leader of the Anbu did not say much, but asked about Shizui's mission. Everything seemed very normal, as if he really came to pick up Shizui. "The mission has failed." After explaining a little, Shizui continued, "This negotiation is a trap set by the Mist Ninja. I will report it to the Hokage in detail later. In that case, we will not disturb you and your companions. Goodbye." First, after receiving Shizui's reply, the leading Anbu did not ask any more questions, but just slowed down his pace and fell behind Shizui. The figure slowly disappeared into the night. It seems nothing is wrong. Looking at the Anbu behind him, slowly disappearing into the night, Shizui was not too surprised. After all, it was a mission related to peace. It was understandable that these Anbu would come to ask about the progress of the mission. Shaking his head, looking up at a hidden mark on the tree, Shizui quickened his pace. If nothing unexpected happened, his teammates were several kilometers ahead. At his speed, he could catch up with them in less than 20 minutes. It was just a pity that this negotiation with the Mist Ninja seemed to have completely failed. "No, there's an ambush." Just when Shizui was lamenting the failure of this mission, his keen intuition made him feel the unusual tranquility in the deep forest. In the forest at night, there are always some animals that come out to hunt at night, and the chirping of insects. But around here, except for the rustling sound of the wind blowing through the leaves, there is no noise. It is a bit abnormally quiet. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Shizui, who found something wrong, immediately turned around and prepared to leave this dark forest. A dense sound of breaking through the air came towards his location. It was the sound of shuriken. Ding ding ding. Even in the dark night, the Sharingan has excellent dynamic vision, dodging most of the shuriken attacks. Shizui swung his sword and shot down the last few hidden weapons that were shot at him, and looked into the depths of the forest. "Who are you?" In the field of vision of the Sharingan, clusters of blue chakra fluorescence were clearly visible in the forest around him. There are many people ambushing him, and the number is still increasing. What responded to him was the whistling of the night wind and the footsteps approaching in the dense forest. "We can't stay here any longer." Looking at the enemies gathering more and more, now reaching 70 or 80, and still increasing, Shizui knew that he couldn't wait any longer. The longer he delayed, the more enemies there would be. Fire style, great fireball technique. He spit out a great fireball in the direction of the largest number of people to attract attention, and then he turned around and left. He had consumed a lot tonight, and the number of the opponents was too large, so he couldn't afford to waste time with them. "It's you." He had just turned around and walked a few steps, and behind him, the Anbu he had just met blocked him, and the number of the opponents had also increased to nearly 20 people. "You are not the Anbu directly under the Hokage." His heart slowly sank to the bottom of the valley, and Shizui questioned the Anbu who blocked his way word by word. If the other party was the Anbu directly under the Hokage, why would they attack him? In that case, there is nothing to say. Seeing that the other party did not respond, Shizui no longer entangled in this issue that he cared about. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. He pulled out a bunch of kunai with explosive tags from behind him and shot them at the enemies. At the same time, he formed a seal with his hands and performed his instant body technique. Be careful that the other party will escape in the chaos. At this time, Some of the people who were ambushing Shizui spoke up. The opponent's instant body technique is very strange. Each team should keep an eye on a phantom clone and don't let him escape. Are you an ninja from Konoha? He should have seen the person who spoke, although he didn't know the other party's true identity. He was undoubtedly a ninja from Konoha, and an Anbu. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded in this silent forest. Taking advantage of the chaos caused by the explosion, Shizui tried to break out, but his efforts failed. The number of the opponents was large, and they were very familiar with his moves. He had no way to break out in a short time, unless he used Susanoo again. As expected, they are all Konoha's ninjas. He should have thought of this earlier. The only force that could gather so many ninjas in the Land of Fire was Konoha. Why? Aren't you all companions? Are you going to kill me just because I'm working towards the goal of being the Hokage? Shizui couldn't understand. Hadn't he always followed the will of fire to protect the village and his companions? How could the Anbu in these villages gather so many people to ambush him? Did the Hokage give the order himself? Or was it someone else who ordered him? Because your last name is Uchiha. Just as the Anbu who were ambushing Shizui looked at each other in silence, a gloomy old man, leaning on a cane, appeared outside the encirclement. He answered his question. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.